go. Hello, friends and bees and friends who are also bees, and welcome to this slightly late, because as usual I lost track of time, Indie Thursday stream. This week we're going to be continuing the playthrough of Miotsukushi Omote, finding out what other awful, terrible things could have possibly gone wrong in this cycle. I am severely tempted to just walk into the ocean. No, I'm capable of doing things. Right. Less of my incapability of doing anything, more swapping to the gameplay. Right. What's going on here? Stream Deck, just don't. Oh, right. What's happening here? Lots of terrible things are happening. For some reason, let me try something. Yeah, right. For some reason, Stream Deck has lost contact with OBS audio, which is very confusing. Never mind, I'll just do that manually until I fix it. Probably it needs, because Stream Deck needs an update. Computer, behave for me, please. Every day, I must suffer. Don't mind me just being overdramatic. Audio down. Hope I don't knock my drink. Watchbot's definitely alive. Let's just get back into it, shall we? Where did we? Whoops, no, did not need to hit that button. So I think we were. Start of chapter 4, I want to say. Well, let's just keep going. All right. Okay, Mum, see you later. Oh, Keiichi, hold on. I put on my shoes at the foyer. But Mum stopped me just as I opened the door. I looked back, wondering what it might be, and Mum came out of the kitchen holding a huge bag of rice. What's that? It's a rice bag. Can't you tell? No, that's not what I meant. Even if it's your celebration, isn't it rude to be invited and not bring anything? So take this with you. But this is... Whoa! Mum forced the bag upon me without saying another word. I instinctively held it toward my chest, but it was so unexpected that I started to lean forward. So heavy. What is this? This thing is completely packed. How am I supposed to take this with me? You expect me to carry it on my bike? It's fine, it'll fit in the basket on your bike, won't it? Oh, I triple bagged it, so you don't need to worry about tearing it. Is it my imagination, or are we worried about completely different things? Come on, stand tall, don't slouch. Right, class rep? Ow. She pushed on my back with tremendous force, and I choked for just a second. I suddenly turned back and glared, intending to tell her off, but when I saw her huge smile, I lost the will to say anything. Alright, I'm heading out. Watch out for cars. You're worried about something like that, don't make me carry this heavy thing. I bad-mouthed her in my mind, but seeing my mum so happily actually made this feel okay. Thinking about it was a completely new experience seeing everyone so confident in me for becoming class rep. I'm sure Mum has some other things on her mind, probably. Thanks, Mum. The summer sun was shining brightly in the clear blue sky. I continued pumping the pedals and tightly clenching the handles to keep the cargo in my front basket from falling out of balance. Sweat gently trickled down my forehead. The footpath between the fields was unpaved and full of exposed pebbles. Even when I rode perfectly straight, the bike still lightly shook. Today is Sunday. Mion proposed that we have a celebration at the Furude Shrine Grounds in honour of me becoming the class rep. The attendees include all of the newly instated club members and all the old club members. In other words, the entire class. And Mion was shrewd enough to convince the Sonozaki family to go all out, providing meat and fish for all of us. Well, this is the school-related event, and Miss Che and the principal will be there too, so I had to come wearing my uniform. It feels a bit stiff, but I guess it's okay. Koichi. Reina and Mion had already arrived at our usual meeting spot. You're ready, Koichi? Shouldn't the class rep be the first to arrive, ready and waiting for us? Did you when you were class rep? Don't look back to the past. You have to look ahead, forward. She hasn't come back for everything. Although I'm probably going to be hearing this class rep spiel for a while. Huh? Koichi, what's that bag in your basket? Is that rice? Oh, high-grade domestic rice? And a massive quantity too. Wow. Don't say it. Don't ask anything. It'd be too much of a pain to explain. I bluntly held up the front of the bag. My fan is so loud and it's directly behind me. I angle it away from the mic. It's better. I think, I hope. Koichi, you don't have to worry about things like that, okay? You're the guest of honor. Plus, we've already prepared a whole bunch of rice. It's okay. No, that's not what I mean. Well, I guess it's fine. Alright, let's hurry up and get going. Everyone is waiting. Yeah, let's go all out, eating and drinking. Having such a large-scale barbecue sounds fun. I'm getting really excited. I've forgotten, like, all of my voices for these kids. The three of us continued making a fuss like that while we rode our bikes to the Furude Shrine. It's been a while since I visited the Furude Shrine, back when Reina and Mion invited me on a tour of Hinamizawa. The grounds are spacious and the shrine has a calming atmosphere. And above all, the view from the top of the hill is inspiringly beautiful. It's a great place to have a good time with a whole lot of carts. What hard? We parked our bikes at the stone steps in front of the shrine. There were quite a few bikes and cars here, as to be expected since the whole class was here. Huh? Cars? Mion, are your parents coming to the party too? Yeah. A barbecue needs a fire, so it'd be problematic if there weren't any adults present, right? So I asked old man Kimiyoshi to gather some people. Old man Kimiyoshi? The mayor? Wow. She's even able to influence the mayor and gather adults. That's a Sonozaki heir, alright? Am I really fit to be Mion's successor? When it comes to personal connections and things like that, there's a huge difference between us. Koichi, you'll be fine. Just a few years, I'm sure people will gather on your orders too. Though I was lost in thought, I came back to my senses when Mion suddenly laughed at me like she could read my mind. Well, that's fine. I'm just getting started as class rep. I just need to build up my own class rep character. Even from the stone steps, I could hear noisy voices coming from the shrine. Shrine grounds. There were, of course, the cheers of children, but I heard the laughter of adults mixed in as well. It sounded really lively. Looks like it's already getting started. Hurry, let's go. Huh? Have you already started? They promised not to start until the guest of honor arrived. Mion. Just then, Sateko and Rika, who had apparently arrived before us, came rushing down the stone steps, waving at us. Yes, Sateko. You got here early, like usual. Sorry we're late. It was Keiichi's fault. That's not important right now. This is something big and surprising. Satoko and Rika rushed over to join us in a panic, interrupted Mion's greeting. What's going on, you two? Something happened? Explaining it would be like combining rap. Oh my god, I can't speak. Explaining it would be like combining ribbon and seaweed wrap. Satoko, wouldn't ribbon and seaweed wrap be a suitable fusion of Japanese and Western gifting styles? That's right, Satoko. You can wrap it in the seaweed, then tie the ribbon on top to... Why are you speaking of the conventions of ceremonial occasions? There's no time to be discussing that. Wasn't Satoko the first to mention seaweed? Anyway, Mion, please come here for a moment. Huh? Wait, don't pull so hard, okay? Ichi, you need to come too. Me too? If you don't come now, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. After that outrageous one-liner, Rika gave me a yippah with her usual smile. If it's as she says, I can't afford not to go. Reina and I looked at one another, then followed Rika up the stone steps. Then... Huh? What does this mean? You hear weird noises. It's me trying to bully my monitor back on. Reina and I were stunned once we saw the state of the shrine ground. Looking around, there were people, and even more people. There were a lot of kids from our class, of course, but there were even more adults. There were a whole bunch of other kids with faces that looked familiar. Wait, are those ancient war waitresses out there in the crowd, helping out with the barbecue? No way, then... Oh, okay. Long time no see. Kameda. The first person to dig in the dessert selection was that weird picture, Kameda. Which means the kids around him are from the Okonomiya Titans? What are you doing here, Kameda? I heard from the fighters there was a party today in Urana. As a soul brother, I felt I had to attend, so I rushed here. That the only reason? Well, actually, the dessert fest was scheduled for today, but the owner suddenly cancelled it to help out at this party. When I heard that, I went into a rage. Not embarrassed to say that. But in the end, I decided the festival would be moved over here. I'd expect no less from an entrepreneur from my beloved hometown. It's lovely scenery. Don't worry, we'll take our trash with us when we go home. Kameda and Co spoke proudly. Or maybe I should say, the cream on their mouths as they spoke subtly conveyed their joy. In fact, rather than coming here to see these young maidens, it seemed like they were here to stuff themselves with cake. Valid. I have half a pint of ice cream left for me in the fridge, and after stream I'm probably going to go finish that off because I have no self-control. And I'm absolutely certain that the stomachache I've had all day is unrelated. They look so out of place here. Do these blacklisters not realise how much their presence damages the scenery? The shrine is a public spot, so this is everyone's yard. Really okay with that, Ruth? But some people I wish would refrain. Anyway, Keiichi, did he call you a soul brother? He is something that exists only in his heart. Total delusion. I have no friends like that in my world. They're right over there. He's someone completely erased this from reality. Anyway, this is a tremendous number of people. It seems like more than half the village is gathered here. It's like a mini Botanigashi festival. We likened it to the annual village festival. There had to be more people at that. Although there were enough people here in the shrine grounds that it was hard to deny. And it's not just that here. The assembly hall is full of adults from Hinamizawa. Really? As if to support a claim, I could hear boisterous laughter coming from the prefab building a short distance away. And it probably wasn't just my imagination, but I detected the scent of alcohol and alcohols. Well, that sounds ideal. Now it seemed like the adult and child areas, the blacklist area, were well segregated. But it was only a matter of time until that barrier came down. Hey, Mion, you think this is too many people? Keiichi, don't be naive. Class rep hasn't changed even once since I started going to school, so it's perfectly natural to have a celebration on this scale. Really? Well, that's what I want to say, but I do agree that this is pretty crazy. Naturally, Mion couldn't just brush it off with a laugh. She looked like she was at her wit's end and lost in thought. did ask old man Kimiyoshi to gather a few adults to help with the barbecue, but still. Kimiyoshi is here too. But... Oh, Mio. So you finally made your appearance? Just then, a dignified old man came out the assembly hall and walked over to Mio with a smile on his face. His face was bright red and his breath smelled of alcohol. Clearly they've been drinking for a while now. Kimiyoshi? Sorry, we started without you. Members of the town council made me get started early. I have my doubts. Was this man really the famous warrior mayor of Hinamizawa, Kimiyoshi? Seriously? Oh, so this is the boy you got your heart set on, Mion. Hello. Heart set on? Oh my, I should have expected as much from Mion. You got a good look to you. You look like the kind of man to even surpass Mion's father. It's nice to meet you, Keiichi Maebara. It's nice to... The mayor squeezed my hand with all of his might as I said that. Felt like my hand was being crushed under his... Anyway, heart set on? Did this man say that just now? What did you mean by heart set on? Oh no. No need to be shy, Maebara. The whole village is prepared to recognize Mion's feelings for you, you know? Poor Mion. Hold on, it's not like that with Keiichi. I understand. Even if you don't say anything, I completely understand. It's not like that. Mion's face out turned bright red as she tried to deny it, but the mayor just kept repeating, I understand. Looking at his face made me feel extremely anxious. I took painkillers earlier. They've not done anything. It's very annoying. It seemed like this guy misunderstood something, but what did everyone else think? Anyway, what's with all this commotion? What do you mean by that? I did ask you for some adults to help with Keiichi's celebration, but I don't remember telling you to gather the whole village and make a huge fuss. Mia had been struggling to hide her embarrassment since he used the phrase heart set on, and now her face was looking a little red with anger. But the mayor had a gentle smile on his face as he answered. Is it only natural? Today is a joyous occasion. For you, Mion. What are you talking about? The celebration isn't for me, it's for Keiichi. Isn't that the same thing? Today we're celebrating Mion finding a future husband. Huh? Then a huge cry burst out. The flock of the birds perched on the shrine roof all flew off at once. Those white birds look so beautiful in the blue sky. Husband? What now? That's... Husband? When did this happen? Am I mistaken? Didn't he propose to you, Neil? This is definitely the... ridiculousness before the storm. This time, even Satoka, who had missed the previous outburst, joined in us in screaming. Mion? What was the meaning of this? I don't know. Sounds like something you should know. Did you and Keiichi make some kind of promise? Mion's head swung left and right as Reina grabbed her by the collar and scolded her. But Reina didn't forgive Mion and continued shaking her back and forth, up and down, with incredible strength. Mion, say something. Are you keeping silent? Even a veteran Air Force pilot would pass out with their nose bleeding after suffering that level of shock to their inner ears. There's no time to stay silent. Can you calm down, Reina? She can't talk even if she wants to. She can't even breathe. Reina, stop. Mion's on the brink of death. Huh? Reina came back to her senses and released her grip, and the momentum carried me onto the ground. Then a delightful scream rang out as her head hit the ground and her legs pointed skyward. Pound slightly. Divine punishment. May you rest in peace. Amen. Don't just declare me dead. One Sonozaki, resurrected. Mion chewed down the leaves that turned out her mouth when she fell and took a deep breath. Then she pulled her body up from the ground and stood up again. As the grass perhaps even edible. Sorry, Mion. Not sure what kind of face to make at a time like this. Now, could you at least stop laughing? Anyway, I had no idea. Such a huge undertaking was being conducted behind the scenes. Keiichi, me, Mion, you're both being so shy. I want you to confess the truth, at least to us. I don't know anything. This is news to me. Right, Mion? Me too. I've never said anything like this. Mion sternly shook her head with a face bright red. But the mayor simply tilted his head with his dubious expression. Looking at that, it was hard to simply brush it aside as some drunken joke. First of all, Mion, how exactly did you go about telling the mayor of this party? Well, I don't really... It's fine, just try to remember. Tell us one line at a time. Odd my Miyoshi. We're planning to have a barbecue party this Sunday. Can you help out? A party? Sure, I don't mind. Are we celebrating something in particular? At last, I finally found him. A boy I can entrust everything to. Everyone was paralysed in shock. I couldn't be certain, but I was probably making the same face. Is there something strange about that? Did I say something wrong? Oh, I'm sure there was nothing wrong with your intention. But depending on how you hear it, the context can be easily misunderstood. It really can't be the atmosphere. Indeed, speaking carelessly can result in misunderstanding. Maybe we should gather statistics on how many people interpreted that as class rep versus fiancé. An overwhelming majority probably took it one way, including me, unfortunately. And all the adults in town said, who in the village would want to miss a celebration for the engagement of the next Sonozaki family head? Of course, as a member of the 3 families. Hold on, did even Granny hear this story? What's all your knows it too? She said next time he comes over to hang out with you, I'll greet her with the pop of my sword. But despite what she may say, she was actually quite happy. The elf's jaw dropped so far it seemed like a chin had fallen. And they priced all this without consulting the people in question. What's this about a sword? Am I going to get torn to pieces next time I come over to hang out? Anyway, Miyabara is now the most famous person in the village. I hear you're going to do a lot at this year's festival. I'm looking forward to it. Isn't that story taking too much of a leap? Well, a handful of people expressed concern that it seemed awfully hasty. The majority opinion was that that sort of thing was normal for youngsters nowadays. Hold on. No matter how much the times may change, morals don't change that suddenly. And only a handful were opposed? What do you mean just a handful? Seriously having doubts about the common sense of these adults. Plus, this is what everyone in the village wants. It's a great way to lighten the atmosphere. Make us proud, Mibara. Your members of our town council will support you. All I could do was laugh. I didn't come to this village. I'll say something. Fuck. It's over. He's been KO'd standing up. Young. Come on, Young. You can't wait now. You're the one who caused this misunderstanding. Old man Miyoshi. Akino was calling for you over there. Huh? Meanwhile, the person who I least wanted to run into during a chaotic situation had arrived. Shion. That was good. Sure enough, Shion was able to get a good look at our faces from the blind spot behind the mirror, and donned an evil smile. Then, hello, brother-in-law. How are you today? Shion, damn you. Huh? Am I mistaken? If your sis, dear husband, that would make you my brother-in-law. Huh? Upon hearing Shion's name, Mio finally came to her senses. Shion had an amused look on her face while cackling to herself, then began to see the mayor off with an expression on the verge of tears. Shion, say something to them. It's all a misunderstanding. A mistake. Tell everyone that they got the wrong idea. Huh? Is that what you think? You said all this up, didn't you? I can tell. That's weird. And yet it seemed like your eyes were shooting intense lovey-dovey rays at Keiichi when you were planning this party. No, stop saying those things or I'll never speak to you again, alright? I'm seriously gonna pummel you, okay? Oh, is that how you ask something of someone? I'm a little shocked. Please, Shion, I apologise for my rudeness, but I guess it'd be like Lady Shion. Would you mind explaining to everyone that this is all a misunderstanding? Is that really a good idea? I'm enjoying this. only one enjoying it. She could no longer maintain her usual composure. Mion was in a panic, with her face as red as an octopus while grovelling at Shion. What's with that pose? But Shion still had a calm look on her face and deliberately tilted her head to the side in a strange gesture. Well, let me just say this. It's probably already too late. Huh? What topic do you think everyone in that assembly hall is getting excited about right now? They're discussing whether the next successor to be born will be a boy or a girl, and what name the parents will go with. Successor? Wait, you can't subspace warp so far into the future based on a single misunderstanding. We're still kids. Cute. Something about that feels a little weird. Still, I'm sure it'll be cute. I want to take it home with me. Raina, my neck. Squeezing my neck. Poop. Break. Stop the game. Raina must have been envisioning some outrageous delusion, and she was tightly squeezing Satoko beside her with both arms, serving as a substitute baby. I noticed Satoko's face gradually change from red to blue, but she's probably fine. It is Satoko. Hey, well, there's no need to worry. Everyone is half joking. Then they're half serious? That's no consolation. Also, Mum and Dad should be here soon, you know? To meet the Grim. Grim? Me? He wanted to examine me personally. Oh, please be careful, Keiichi. My father is the head of the Samsaka Group. Good luck, alright? But don't be cheering me on or threatening me. What's this about a personal examination? Like I'm some kind of criminal or suspect? It's alright, Keiichi. Because I gave them a thorough explanation about the two of you. Thorough? What did you explain? Judging by Shion's face, there was no need to ask. And after that, Mion's face finally stopped looking like it was burned out from the end of the world. You... Exactly what you deserved. Divine punishment for putting my life in peril in that curry incident. Still haven't forgotten about that? That's right. Rather than being a simple bamboo cover, I prefer to be the kind of girl that plants rice into rice cakes. That's me, Shion Samazaki. There's no reservations about speaking herself out. Besides, this is such a fun story. How could I pass it up? You could put out a fire, but isn't it more exciting to pour gasoline on it and turn it into a sea of flames? It's a demon. Is there no one out there who can stop this runaway express train? Keiichi, let's run! Uh-huh. Don't you realise the situation we're in? Things stay the way they are, they'll drink all day, and by tomorrow we'll officially be a couple. Thinking about it, having me on for a partner might not be so bad. Oh, wait, what am I thinking? Keiichi, come on. Right. Sorry, Raina. Today's party will have to be postponed. Huh? How? Satoko was finally released from Raina's clutches and fell to the ground with her arms and legs spread out. Rika began poking her with a twig to confirm her well-being, but right now my priority was ensuring my personal safety. Sorry, Satoko. Let's go, Mion. Yeah, let's go. Mion started running and turned to look back at her, but she inadvertently ran into a woman standing in front of her. Mion was overwhelmed by her momentum and her butt landed on the ground, but the woman dressed in a kimono was somehow able to lightly stagger and maintain her footing. Sorry. Oh dear. Just as restless as always. Huh? When I heard that distinct accent, I couldn't help but look up at her. Good almond eyes and shapely face, and a smile that reminded me of someone else. I love Akane. She's one of my favourite characters. Her and Rika and me. Yum. Inside silent shriek here. When she looked up at the woman, Neon's face looked like an Edward Munch painting, or maybe like those Hanura statues. Timmy turned back towards Shion and the others behind us. Shion was shaking her head like she was telling me to give up, and Rika was holding her hands in prayer. You're Maebara, yes? I'm Mion's mother, Akane Samazaki. You can call me Mom from now on. And so, at that moment, I realised that a day that could have been one of the best of my life had no doubt already become popular. I know something terrible. I read a lot of fics with very similar premises recently. It's my favourite fic trope of all is fake dating. I just mutual pining plus fake dating, or even like idiots to lovers, fake pine and fake dating. What's my favourite thing? The potential for comedy is so strong. I did read a very good fic that was based on the idea that two characters sort of jokingly got engaged, and then one of them accidentally introduces the other to the parent as my fiance, and they're like, well shit, guess we've got to get married now. And then in the course of getting married, they're like, wait shit, we are actually into each other. Very good. Anyway, enough about that. What are you doing? Oh, looks like we ran out of hot water, so I came to heat some up. Say that, but are you sure you're not trying to hide a little something? The alcohol today is quite fine. Okay, in that case, I'll have one too. You'll have to wait a little longer. We'll drag something even better out of the storehouse for you in a few years. Okay, looking forward to it. Isn't it about time for you to head out? What's that, Mum? Am I the odd one out again? That's not it. It's just that I've been thinking. Being here must be tough. Why? I've been your mother for how many years now? I can understand that now. I don't want this event to bring up bad memories for you. Can't be helped. This current situation is completely different from back then. Is that so? You don't see it? That's fine. Just remember this. What happened back then wasn't done out of malice to you. The other party was just a bad fit. He was a bad person? Not at all. I think he was a good kid. I believe he was an admirable young man, sharing a hard life looking out for his sister. But this is Hinamizawa, Jiro Samazaki. The whims alone are not enough to change that. And Mother didn't want you to become a social outcast. When you say Mother, are you talking about yourself or Granny? Both. Honestly, as far as the head of the family is concerned, you're just as important as me. Plus, I understand if it's painful now. It's taking on the role of the villain for the sake of the village, so did you try to show her some understanding? Difficult request. To be honest, if you were to ask me that now, I couldn't help but say no, but if you give me a little more time, just a little longer. Is that so? So then the kettle on the stove began to steam. When Shion saw that, she flipped the switch to turn out the flame. Done already? In that case, take this bottle with you. I'm sorry. Thanks, Mum. What's that? So that's 2 bottles to fill your share, Mum. Not that they, somehow, despite it being pivotal to many of the key events of the game, forgot that Shion was punished when she declared her Satoshi. Shows how much I fucking know. Task 6. Once again, unable to count. Okay. 6 out of 27 ain't bad. Oh, my caption note, does it live? It does. Anyway. I have a feeling things are about to get serious. The surrounding area was already pitch black. I finally succeeded in escaping from, perhaps I should say, the chaos of the meeting hall, and I took a seat on the stone steps in front of the shrine. Then, the chilling touch of those steps brought me back to my senses, and I let out a sigh of relief. Reina, Satoko, and the other kids were making a commotion earlier, but they'd already gone home. Only me, Mion, and the certified guardian, Shion, were stuck here, partying with the drunken adults. Mion was embarrassed at first, but whether she'd gained the ability to open up or simply resigned her to her fate, she ultimately began chatting with adults in high spirits. I didn't want to pour oil on the fire. If I approached her and asked her to stop, it would probably just have made things worse. But considering how upset and embarrassed she was earlier, I thought I should start to open up to you. This is the one occasion where anyone can make a fool of themselves just for today and go right back to normal tomorrow. Then after that, let's just not think about that. Neon's mum sure is something. I absentmindedly blurted that out, but it was totally a case of like mother, like daughter, or maybe the other way around. Anyway, in short, she was outstanding. I'd always thought that Neon's plucky personality and older sister demeanour came from her father, but it seemed like she inherited it from the so-called Sonozaki matriarch, the grandmother Oya. Give us that now. No doubt about that, she inherited it through her mother. What's more, when her father confirmed that for me, he turned to me with an indescribable expression and offered me encouragement by saying, "You too, good luck." Perhaps he couldn't help but tremble imagining my future. Reason that Mion is declared a successor and not Akane is because Akane, if I remember correctly, she basically got like thrown out of the succession line because I think it's because she chose who she wanted to marry. I remember it being something about her marriage where they were like, well, you're out of succession, your kids are fine. I could be misremembering, but there's a reason that she like lives in Okinawa, which is very wrong. Brain empty, no thoughts. There's a reason she doesn't live in Hinamizawa and stuff like that. It seemed like good people. Neon's mother was strong-willed and leapt into conversations, and her father's way of speaking and laughing didn't feel like what I'd expect from a gangster, but I could easily tell just how close the two of them were. And I realised that Neon had grown into the wonderful person she was because of the two of them. I heard all kinds of stories. Amusing old stories, dubious ghost stories, and legends. Stories about the dark, sad past of Hinamizawa. Yes, it's part of a national planning project put up by higher-ups in the government. The dam would have caused Hinamizawa to sink to the bottom of a lake. It was cancelled, right? Was it not cancelled, we wouldn't be having this banquet here right now. It was cancelled because the entire village united and stood together. So this time we're able to enjoy today as our reward for winning that fight. Neon's mother laughed while raising her glass and took a drink. She'd been drinking quite a bit, but she didn't look drunk at all. What an amazing person. The dam opposition effort was ongoing just 5 years ago. According to her, the villagers united to protest at government offices and construction sites, and the story was featured in newspapers and magazines. It seemed like a huge ordeal. Neon's mother described the past events in a cheerful tone. That may have been partly due to pride, but more than that, it was likely due to going to avoid alarming the listener. Thanks to that, it sounded kind of fun. Things are relatively calm, leading to Congress or directly to the cabinet list. The government gradually began using their power, challenging us with a high-pressure attitude, using riot police and such to quell the opposition. So we fought back, all of us, even her. And me? Yes, that girl used her wit to contribute in various ways. She confronted the police and other armed groups, often getting thrown in detention centres for obstructing public service. Hey, there's no need to go into so much detail. Neil's father, who was sitting right beside her, spoke up to calm her off. That's true, but if this boy is to become Neon's husband, what's the harm in speaking? Then let Neon herself be the one to tell her. It's not our place to say. Very well, stay keeping secrets. Good grief. Reached the bottle of sake in front of me. Police are coming to arrest me for being unable to read crimes. When I looked back, I saw Neon's mother smiling and staring back at me. So why did you ask about a topic like that? You've been thinking about it? Yes. Natural. I handed her the sake bottle, poured herself another. And then she thought deeply while choosing her words. Ever since ancient times, there have been rumours about Hinamizawa, causing people from this village to suffer discrimination. So while the community is very tightly knit, it's also very exclusive. They subconsciously view outsiders with tinted glass. So everyone was a little worried about things like, will we be able to get along with new people like Nirvana? Or are we unknowingly creating an atmosphere that's making their lives difficult? Not at all. Every day here is fun. I'm really glad that I moved to Hinamizawa. The words came out naturally without any hesitation. Yes, I truly did feel that way. Pleased to hear that. That girl, Neon, was always concerned about you, Andrea, and the whole Shogun, Satoka. So I think that's why she kept the rumours of dark past of the village secret. She wants everyone to live a bright cheer from the bottom of her heart. Come to think of it, Raina said the same thing. When she moved here last year, she was able to adjust to the village atmosphere without any difficulty. She may seem rough at first glance, but she cares more than anyone else. Mion is really kind-hearted. Small village, so you're bound to get a story someday. But I want you to understand the reason it's kept hidden. So no matter what happens, I want you to believe in the kindness of life. I felt the strong, warm affection behind those words. Val has always lived her life as a member of the family. As the next head of the Summers Abbey, and she will continue to do so in the future. Which is why she can unconsciously project feelings onto others. Thanks to that, I come across as a cold terror, unable to read other people. No way. Mion's heart is cold. It's wrong. That's the one thing she said that's wrong. What's cold about doing your best to selflessly think about the people around you? Like when she tested me for the good role of class rep. Sacrifice anything for the sake of others, even if it means becoming the bad guy. Such a broad, kind heart may sometimes seem cold. I didn't think myself too darned away. And I wanted to believe there were people out there who could feel it too. To be honest, there were times I had my doubts. In the end, Mion's my best friend. At least, my friends and I think so. Thank you. That must be why she wanted you to represent her. Painful position to be in, sacrificing your own feelings to look after the life and stability of others. And everyone in the village knows that. They knew, but in the end, they couldn't do anything about it, including me. That's why I was honestly quite surprised that she'd ceded the position of class rep to me. You might say it's no more than a school title, but that girl should know the prayer of Raina that burden better than anyone else. Even if she wanted someone else to shoulder the burden, she kept quiet about it all this time. Until now. Up until now, I wasn't thinking too deeply about what Mion said. I thought her excuse was that she was studying for exams was an attempt to hide her embarrassment, but the adults around her were also watching her. Even so, the mysteries and feelings didn't change anything. It was no lie that she wanted me to work hard for everyone's sake as the person in charge. I felt a tremendous desire to reciprocate Neil's strong faith in me. But if that's the case, then why bring it up now? Why tell me about Neil's past and the real Neil? Can't be certain, but isn't there a chance that hearing it would make me think less of her? Is that really a good thing to do? Neil's mother responded with a laugh and raised a glass as she answered my question. Say that. Neil is our precious treasure. So I want her to have precious friends who can help her even more than me. Then, Neil's mother gazed at me with sharp eyes. For a moment, I looked back with my fist clenched to demonstrate the strength of my thought. Honestly, marriage, isn't it? It would certainly be better if it does. That girl desperately needs friends she can talk to about real life issues. She needs friends able and willing to help. It's tough, bad other problems. As self-serving as it is to say, I think you will be able to do that. It's a heavy burden to place on your back, carrying that girl's full of her thoughts. But I just want you to understand that, act on it in the future. Understood. The answer came right out of it. I worried it looked careless of me to speak so quickly. Neil's mother seemed to be able to read the movements in my heart, and nodded to me with a clear smile on her face. Mion is a precious friend, so leave it to me, Mum. Suddenly, I felt my head being grabbed. Mion's mother was waving her index finger at me, saying discuss. Save that for after you're married. I'm looking forward to the day, right? Yeah. If you're dissatisfied with Mion, feel free to shop friends, okay? I give young cubs a women welcome. I couldn't help but spit out that long tea I was drinking and burst into a coughing fit. Simply no match for someone like her. Isn't Mion going to turn out like this? I couldn't help but shudder as an image of Mion walking all over me. She already does. Came to mind. Mion came in carrying food from the kitchen, but I couldn't even look her in the eyes. So I leaped out, but it wasn't actually a wild desire to escape the overwhelming pressure. Actually, I was feeling restless, thinking about the things I could do going forward. Marriage or whatever, it's still just a story to us. And the adults making such a fuss know that perfectly. Still, everyone grows up someday. There's only so long you can be an irresponsible child. That goes for Mio, Reina, Satoko, Rika, Shion. It's me too. The time I can spend thinking of owning myself will fade in the future. My thoughts, words, and actions can affect the very lives and existence of others. I can't help but be aware of my involvement. Supporting other people, working together, facing hardships without running and turning. That's what it means to become an adult, to let someone other than yourself take over something you created. I don't know if that's what it means to be an adult. For me, so far, what it means to be an adult is to legally be able to like vote and drink and drive and stuff, and still have little to no idea of what's going on, ever. That reminds me, I found my English teacher automatically. I don't want to be responsible. I want to lie in bed and read fan fiction with a fan on all day. Felt like I was finally beginning to understand why so many people came to today's gathering. Listening carefully, I could hear the triad crickets. They had a different tone from the afternoon cicadas and evening Higurashi that surrounded this quiet area. Strange. In the past, I felt scared, lonely, and small when alone in the dark. It was miserable and wretched. But now, it's very peaceful. It wasn't that long ago that I was living in Tokyo, but that already felt like a bad dream. I spread my arms and legs out, gazed up at the glittering star-filled sky. It was easy to see the binary star system in the Big Dipper. Back when I was in Tokyo, I could only see the other stars through the telescope. More things have become visible thanks to the change in environment. I'll tell you what, that's one of the things that I really miss about moving out of Nottingham. Because I lived just out of the city. Where I was, there was very little light pollution and little smog or anything else, which meant that if there was a clear night, if there weren't clouds, the sky was absolutely stunning. And very often, especially in summer, when I would either be, like, if I got depressed or anxious or, like, just needed to do something, especially in summer when my flat would get super, super warm, I would often go out and go for a walk along the river, because the breeze off the river was nice and cooling, and you could like sit on the steps and basically stargaze and sort of see the whole dome of the sky, which was really beautiful, and I miss that. I'm sure there are good places to go stargazing in Seattle that I just haven't found, but that. More things have become visible thanks to the change in environment. It may seem like a tired expression, but before I came to Hinanazawa, I never considered any adults or friends my age an irreplaceable part of my life. I'm glad I came here. I believe that from the bottom of my heart. And in order to avoid forgetting the lessons and consequences of my past mistakes, I want to be the kind of person who considers my friends precious. Faintly hear the uproar inside the assembly hall, along with the cry of the cricket. In addition to that, I felt like I could see a flickering shadow off in the inner part of the shrine, just a short distance. I got up and looked. There was a dark pine forest on the other side, no light at all. Suddenly, a strong, cool breeze blew by, streaking my cheeks. For a moment, I started to think that whatever I saw was grass or something. Together with the wind, I heard a faint sound resembling a human voice. Huh? Was that a hallucination? No, that was definitely what happened. There it is again, and this time it sounds even clearer than before. What should I do? Should I go to it? No, let's go. Still anxious and hesitant, I stepped into the realm of darkness and recess of the grounds. After taking my first step, my legs kept moving on. Yes, I arrived. My vantage point. Then, Rika? Why are you here? The person standing here overlooking the Rika. You'd already headed home, but I guess you came here. So surprised coming that I said something more awkwardly. Were you the one calling out? I didn't call out. I was thinking about it. Rika turned her gaze downward as she any much. Then she turned her back this way. In the silence, a breeze blew up from the base of the hill, causing Rika's long dark hair to dance and glitter in the wind. I stared at her slender back for a while and felt large, cold, icy presence. For a while there, I continued staring. Rika, Driving fate. Impossible. But that's nothing. Good evening, Kate. Then she turned to me with her usual "Nipa." The cold atmosphere that had been enveloping her whole disappeared in an instant. She turned toward me with a kind, gentle gesture that Rain would describe as cute. And yet, stay behind because Rain is taking steps. Come to think of it, I feel like once Turko was playing with other kids today. Said she wanted to see the new items Raina added to her collection. What about you, Ree? I'm staying at Kichira's house. If I don't take that drunk old man home, nobody else will. Seems like the opposite of a responsible parent. After drinking a little alcohol, Kichira's hardly an example of a responsible guardian. Kichi, have you ever seen the village from up here at night? Can't say I have. Whoa. I gently approached the vacant spot next to Rika, looked down at the village. The nighttime view had a mysterious quality to it, the modest illumination from electric. It's beautiful. There's something calming about it. Every simple light visible from it's a sign of human life, John. Rika, since when are you apart? Despite how I might hike. Ichiro and Oreo have both told me I'm pretty good at it. Oh, is that so? That's right. For our next game, let's make it a poetry competition. Sounds like a tremendous distance. You know, she both you practice now. Raina would be a formidable opponent. Satoko would likely to receive support, elevating her to an almost equal level. In which case, the only people I'd be able to compete with are the junior students. It's supposed to be a class rep. How can I have such low aspirations? Isn't it a leader's duty to fight for the top even when I'm outmatched? That's right. A leader is respected, but always seeking victory. That's hard. Rika, can you tell what I'm thinking? I think it'd be best if you got out of the habit of wearing your thoughts on your lips. Upon receiving that piercing attack, I immediately choked up. But as soon as I looked at Rika's face, I began to smile naturally. Me? Is something wrong? It's nothing. By the way, I never said this earlier. Thank you. Rika stared blankly for a moment, but quickly recognized what I was getting at and flashed me with a bright smile. You're welcome, Rika. Thank you was, of course, the help in the game that landed me. If Rika hadn't kicked the can back then, my team would have been defeated. Really think about it. Today's banquet was all thanks to you, Rika. Not really. I didn't do much. You were able to move everyone to You're always so amazing. No. Did they happen because everyone was there for me? I'm certain of that, and I'll absolutely never forget. Me, that's a very good choice. Rika said with a smile and nodded. I am a little relieved. Just thanks to that, it seems like you're feeling better, Rika. The smile vanished from his face, replaced with a startled expression. Then, fine now. My cold is gone and I feel very energetic. A faint smile floated across her innocent face. Sorry for making you worry, but I'll be back to being the usual me starting tomorrow. Bye! What's wrong, Keiichi? Nothing. Rika peered at me while lightly tilting her cutesy, friendly manner, staring straight at me with dark pupils. Looked away for a moment in embarrassment. Something stared in the back of that gaze felt out of place. I've realised it for a while now, but something is bothering Rika. She's never said anything, but it must be something deep and heavy enough to make distance from us. I understood that much. And we've been waiting for the day to come when she'd be willing to tell us. But looking at her expression, I don't think her problem is gone. Rika is still keeping someone's car engine. Whenever there's a big noise like that, part of me thinks, is it the wind? And then I'll have to close my window, because otherwise it will drunk and drunk all over the place and make my door rattle. Does that mean it's something we can tackle with? Huh? Please, can you rely on you? Now, sure I heard a voice. Rika? Did you say something just? Rika stared vacantly. I quickly turned and looked. Of course, there were no signs of anyone else. Just the sound of the trees swaying in the breeze. What on earth was that voice? Still, that child. Those words I heard just pierced a small hole through my chest. So I turned towards Rika, who was still dubiously staring at me, and spoke resolutely. Hey, Rika, don't push yourself too hard. Nope. She stared at me with a puzzled expression. I immediately started to regret speaking so carelessly. The pain tightened in my chest and coaxed me to put my thoughts into words. Rika, right now, maybe I should say, you look like you're on the verge of tears. You're holding on to some heavy emotions to keep them hidden. To explain it properly. So you don't have to worry about it alone. I'd be glad to lend you my strength. I don't want to force you to do anything. Mind telling me? The smile vanished from her face, and I gazed downward. Is that your job as a class representative? Huh? Her unusual glance on my reaction caught me by surprise. She carefully examined my face, searching for my true intention. Keiichi? I was a little confused by the atmosphere that she was in. Her expression hardened, like something she didn't want. Even so, I just wanted to convey to her how I really felt. Probably part of it. But more importantly, Rika, you're our precious friend. So if there's anything bothering you, speak up. If there's anything I can do to help, I want to lend a hand. Everyone feels that. Keiichi, do you actually confirm that with her? Well, that's not something we even need to ask. If someone were to betray you, what would you do afterwards? I'm the one asking questions, Keiichi. Please, answer me. Why did Rika sharp antagonistic tone today? And the strong light in her eye said that she wouldn't tolerate innocence. So I organised my thoughts and earnestly put them together. Yeah, I don't know. But if you're worried about being betrayed, then in the end your trust isn't real. So if you committed yourself to someone, can't even consider the possibility. That's what I think. That good me? I know far too many people where that belief didn't come true. Rika looked down as she said, seeing that face made me more and more worried about her. Seriously, what happened? Would you mind telling me? These days, come hard to live. It's nothing. Hey, Rika, if you talk about it, it might make you feel like I only earned everyone's of you, Rika. So this time it's to help you. Really? She raised her head and looked up. I firmly nodded and looked back at her, waiting for her. Rika gently turned up towards the cliff. Then she looked up at the moon, finding in a vast night. Don't go too far, that's... In that case, something to ask you. Her clear voice sounded like the ringing of it. Rika turned away from me and stood with her hands behind her back and spoke. You had a predetermined, absolute fate. Keiichi, what would you do? Determined fate. Fate, but the things people dear and took them from me. Keiichi, what do you do? Well, what does that mean? Maybe it's a continuation of that poem earlier? It didn't seem like the atmosphere would be making jokes. But Rika was standing with her back. It looked like she was seriously waiting for me. Keiichi, what do you do? Isn't it obvious? Why, of course I'd fight it. I gave a strong answer for true feelings. Not sure what important thing you were referring to. Mion, Reina, Tokoshi, and of course you too, Rika. You're all my precious, irreplaceable friends. So if something was threatening any of you, I'd fight it. Even if that is fate. Even if it's already been decided. Obviously, I don't believe in predetermined futures or fate in the first place. So I'll change whatever I can. If it's for my and everyone else's happiness, they'll never lose to anyone. See, you truly are an interesting person. Beyond her slender back, I could hear the sound of a sigh. Once I realised she'd faintly whispered something, Rika turned towards me with a min at her back and an even more serious expression. Stop flashing my eye. Very soon, the Higurashi festival will begin. And then, that night, Omatake will be killed by the Katsuoyashi. Immediately gasped. Omatake is that photographer who travels to Hinamizawa around for a year. Man is going to be killed on the night of Higurashi. At the same time, the nurse Takano will go missing. That itself is a deception. Rika? Then, a little while later, I'll be killed. Here at the Fude Shrine. My stomach will be slit open while I'm still alive. Content of the conversation. What? What's more, it wasn't about someone else's fate. Rika was talking about her own fate. For a moment I thought it was a joke, but Rika's expression was completely lacking her usual cheerful smile. Deeply reflected on every single word. This is a delusion, prediction, or, like she said earlier, this is fate? I don't know why I'm going to be killed. What fate awaits everyone afterward? I don't have a clear understanding of it. That is a fact, and I've been repeating this frustrating fate for a long time. Same. All that has been predetermined by fate. Enrica flipped her dark hair and took a step towards me. Her shiny black stared at me, without laughter, without sorrow or anger. A completely transparent expression. She motionlessly looked back at me, studying my reaction. I continued to endure this fate hundreds, even thousands of times. And here I am again, all of you just the same as always. Rika? It's a harsh reality for a human to know, devoid of comfort, and just thinking about it is frustrating. Lending your strength and fighting fate, those are easy things to say. So if I've seen 1,000 realities and never succeeded in any of them, what can you show me that would change anything? The girl was standing right before my eyes, giving off the cold atmosphere I felt earlier. Sure enough, this was no optical illusion. Then who on earth is this girl right in front of me? This is the first time I've ever shown you. Yes, this is the real me. The other form of Rika Fude. I've lived through time leading up to my own death over and over again. Your face says you don't believe me, but this is no dream. You and I are the only ones here witnessing this solitary reality. Rika sneered as she said this, but I wanted to say that she was wrong, but I held my tongue. Even if I spoke up to deny her, she would know that my heart was tender. So I just continued staring at her in bewilderment. Please answer me, Keiichi. What on earth are you going to show me? Rika. Keiichi continued staring at me with his eyes open wide. It's only natural. If a girl who was always smiling and laughing in a cheerful voice suddenly started saying something crazy, anyone would doubt their ears. I finally told him. I can't keep my emotions under control like this, so I showed him this film. He wanted me to help. He wanted to help him? How long have I been waiting to hear? Those words can give me the courage and hope to challenge fate. But can he still say that after really understanding me? Because if not, then the words he conveyed are completely untrue. Does he understand how terribly cruel that is? I wanted to believe in my friends. I want to believe in them, rely on them, and accept their help. But can he really say that after knowing the weight of darkness lingering in my heart? Would he still feel the same way? Unlike when I confessed to the club members in the previous world, this time I had no evidence of it. Despite the precarious situation, I was prepared to confess, and if I'm betrayed here, I'll be truly alone after that. But even so, this isn't a plan. I'm shaking the dice here. The dice have literally been thrown. I waited for Keiichi's reply. In this world, unlike anything I've experienced before, Keiichi showed me things beyond my imagination. It was my one hope against the despair I'd been saddled with. And I'd been silently watching over the club members, thinking it would be meddlesome to talk to them. So even though it seemed impulsive, I wanted to take this chance. If he believes what I say here, if he accepts the me that I kept hidden until now, I think I can believe in a small miracle. Please answer me, Keiichi. I took a breath while waiting for his response. If he apologizes and makes fun of me, I'll give up. Say it was a joke, and and after that, I'll only be able to think that this is my death. Like the boy who cried wolf, screaming for help in the worst possible situation before eventually losing his life. Rika. Before long, Keiichi opened his mouth. Sorry. It's a joke. Is that what you thought I would say? I raised my head and looked up at him. He was grinning and giving me a thumbs up. To be honest, I don't understand half of what you said, Rika. And I said this before, but I don't believe in fate at all. Right. Thousands of times I've gone honk through this, there's only been a few times you believed what I have to say. That's understandable. Even weirder if you did believe a story. So what's the matter? So what's the matter? Why? I can't believe the future is decided by anyone. Not even you, Rika. But that doesn't mean I'm rejecting what you have to say. Did you really think I was the kind of guy to overlook a friend's suffering? Not Rika. As I stood there bewildered, Keiichi put a hand on my shoulder and deeply nodded to reassure me. His hand was big and warm, a gentle touch. Regardless of whether the story you told is true or just a dream, do you think we would just silently watch while you suffered from it? You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but the reason you sound so angry as you said that just now, is it because you want to? It's actually because you wanted someone to listen to you, isn't that right? So talk to me, Rika. Honestly, I'm not sure if I can believe it, but I won't know if I believe it or not. Will you tell me? Kate. Carol. His words and his expression give me hope. Even if I may be betrayed, it gives me the courage to set aside my anxiety and move forward. Will Keiichi truly believe me? Is it really the right choice to share everything with him right now? Keiichi maintained a serious expression while waiting for me to open my mouth. If it's Keiichi, then I'm sure my power... Even so, I was filled with unease. How will relying on his power be able to change the future? Should I persuade the villagers? Join forces to fight Takano? It's unlikely that either of those would succeed. And even with all the club members at my side, it's still the same. Should I confess everything here and now? I vented my timidness and frustration at Keiichi. Maybe I'm not scaring out the snake by poking at the bush. But it wasn't that long ago that doubts and anxiety gave way to joy, destroyed in an instant. And it's not just me. You talk to Reina and the others, I'm certain they'll help you. Let's tell them about this tomorrow. Hold on. I instinctively grabbed Keiichi by the sleeve. When he noticed that, he tilted his head to the side and looked puzzled. What's wrong, Rika? Don't tell the others about this yet. Why? Mion and the others would definitely believe you. In which case, wouldn't it be better to have more friends to rely on? Yeah, you believed me. So the others would probably believe too. But what then? Do you have any idea how we could fight this? Right. Isn't that why we should talk to others about it? If we just stay here, nothing will get started. But if we exchange opinions on how to move forward, I'm sure we'll find a way. And what if we can't find one? Rika, understand. I've become extremely cowardly. But I told everyone the truth in the previous world. And because of that, hanged. Me. Everyone died right before my eyes. I think... Why am I so tired all the time? Could it be because I'm not eating properly? Definitely not, looks around shifted. I think the sore throat and the frog in the throat are probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, just being my voice starting to drop. Maybe, ideally, but, sniff. The snuffles and the sneezes, I suspect I may have got a bit of a summer cold. Even now, the scene is still burnt into my eyes. Witnessed countless deaths, but seeing their bodies torn asunder right before my eyes was far too cruel for me to have enthusiasm left. Indeed, I told Hanyu back then, next time we'll succeed. But the reason I had that confidence was because I had Hanyu supporting me. Even if I failed next time, I had the strength to repeat that challenge as many times as possible. I was abundantly aware of that. I already know the identity of my enemy, but this is my first time in a world like this, so I don't really know how to move forward. Even if you think it's a good idea to it can still be dangerous, and I'm certain this world will be my last chance. That's why I can't afford to take any risks. Why? My power was given to me by another me, a friend who was always by my side, no matter how many times I reincarnated. He was no longer here. That means if I fail this time, I will not be able to be reborn and try again. So I'm scared. Is it right or wrong to tell Keiichi the name of my enemy, right here and now? Tell him? Perhaps I'll be only hastening my inevitable death. Kitchi and the others should still be able to live happy lives. But if I get them involved in the worst case scenario, so who is the enemy that's trying to kill you? Do you not want to tell me? Turn my gaze downward a bit on my lip. Being such a and he wasn't here. Not over again. Thinking about that anxiety and cowardice I kept buried until now, I realised my neck. Strong, firm power of believing in my friends was looking quite fragile. And even for Keiichi, who looked so strong and gentle, with his hand held out to me. Misery and self-loathing rushed through my whole body, oozing out of my tortured heart. However, suddenly, I uttered the shameful words from within my heart. Afraid to believe right. The silence continued. It was perhaps the first time I'd ever heard Rika ask, "We're friends, precious friends." There can only be one answer. Fine. My strength. Believe in me. I answered just like that. It was a completely obvious answer. But I answered honestly. And even if she didn't seem aware of it herself, I thought that telling Rika to trust me was the best thing I could say to get through to her. To be perfectly honest, I don't know what I can do right now, Rika. But my desire to fight with all my strength to help you hasn't changed. I'm confident that a heart seeking to defend everyone's happiness will never lose to anyone. But even if I ask you to, I understand it will be easy for you to do that, right? She stared at me with a firm expression. I'm sure she's discouraged, but even so, I put the strength into my fists and strung together the words to convey it. Rika, I just want to say this. I trust you. So I believe everything you told me about these events might happen in the future. And I've also decided, even if you get me involved, I won't resent you, no matter what happens in the future. At the very least, I can promise you that. It's natural to be afraid. If I were in your position, I'm sure my legs would be shaking. But believe me, Rika, I, Keiichi Maebara, will do absolutely everything in my power to help you. You may not believe me now, but that's okay. Just watch. The club members and I will demonstrate our true strength and unity. And let me show you. If you team up with me in this world, we can overcome anything fate has in store. Believe that, even though we failed every time up to now. Those weren't the versions of us from this world. They're total strangers. Plus, Rika, you said this was your first time in a world like this. If that's the case, you should believe in the potential of this world. We won't lose, I promise you. We're going to win. Possibly. We are going to win because I intend to get the good endings first and then go through and get the bad endings and alternate dialogue. But good ending first. My voice echoed through the shrine ground. I was forgetting my place and throwing around foolish, naive words. But I was serious. I meant it sincerely. A breeze ran by, brushing my hot flushed cheeks. Rika continued staring silently for a while. She suddenly broke into a smile and let out a weird laugh. Then she gently wiped the tears from her eyes and looked at me with a relaxed expression. Honestly, it's frankly amazing. You're so ridiculously foolish. That's why I wanted to reveal my secret to you. You're the sort of person to view me as a child, seeing and hearing delusions. You wouldn't have even considered taking this risk. Like praise. No, I'm glad. You've always been like this, kid. And that was your greatest strength. Rika stared straight at me and continued speaking. Keiichi, can you show it to me? The miracle you can create if I believe in you? And the possibilities that lay in this world. Little by little, Rika gently held out her hand. Fingertips were illuminated by the moonlight, glowing in a fantastical pale blue hue. I was lost in admiration for a moment, sheer beauty of it. I grabbed hold of her hand and then I spoke. Understood. Promise me you'll tell me when the time is right. Whatever it is that you still have locked away in your heart. Yes, of course. Thank you, Keiichi. She gently smiled at my arm. Now, let's just continue holding hands. Please stay nearby, in the audience, watching me. Anna Bartons. But I do have just one request. The time comes that I'm about to fall off the stage. Please be ready to leave your seat. You can promise me even that, and I think I'll be able to give it my all. You understand my request, Keiichi? Of course. We held hands under the moonlight for a while longer. This marked the beginning of a long battle. not to be funny, but I am really tired. As always, I'm always tired. I never have energy. Always dead no dead. My energy is always dead no dead. But anyway, the point that up chapter 7. We'll do chapter... What else? That was the end of chapter 7. 8, 9, 2 more. We'll see. Naturally, Sunday came to a close and they arrived. This chapter is called Fate Within Reach. And along with it, the eagerly awaited beginning of my life as class representative. I can't help but feel a bit overwhelmed even thinking about running for this responsibility. But enough of that, it's already been decided. So I began fulfilling my duties as class rep immediately. Historic first task on this job is carrying chalk. And on, carry it without complaining. There's still another bag. Neil lifted up a large chalk bag as she said that. I'm a man after all, but for some unfathomable reason I had to carry 2 bags at the same time. This is the sort of chalk used for drawing lines on the arms, so why do we need to carry this much? Apparently Miss Chie ordered them run around. Should have been 4 bags, but somehow that turned into 40 bags. That can't be right. It's fine, it's a consumable supply, and the principal said he was willing to overlook it. It's to be expected. Principal is only human. God, I would get in so much trouble if I'd accidentally ordered 40 of something rather than 4 at my old job. But Miss Chie just can't forgive herself over it, so she imposed a penalty on herself. Penalty? Like what? No curry for a whole week. See why she looks so depressed. Punishment like that is on the same magnitude as do not breathe. Nonetheless, it does demonstrate our teacher's strong sense of responsibility. She seemed to be in a sour mood in class. She must be going through withdrawals. Anyway, Mio, have you been doing this sort of work all on your own at all? Well, sometimes. But usually when I lends a hand. Mio showed me a laugh as she said that. Thinking back on it, any time we seemed to run low on PE supplies, everything would be neatly decked out just a few days later. I always thought that was handled by the supply vendor or maybe by the teacher. It was actually Mion's handiwork. I was once again reminded of the hardship Mion had to endure in the world of classroom. Thank you, Mio. What? I've left you to handle all this hard work on your own. It's no big deal. It's totally fine, okay? Take a good look. You'll see how surprisingly athletic this old man is. There's nothing surprising here. I can see clearly. Actually, if I were to release the thoughts accumulating in my brain, I'd point my finger and shout, doubt it. Itchy, what's wrong with doing everything all alone? Oops, wrong button. There we go. Makes for good exercise. I was just joking around. Whoa. All of a sudden, Leon grabbed another chalk bag and tossed it out. Weight of 3 bags isn't that unreasonable, but taking on a load so heavily? Waste. It's quite a heavy load so what's the matter, class representative Mibara? You're going to suddenly go down right here? Of course I'm a demon. I'm a child of the Samazaki family after all. Mion cheerfully laughed as she said that. But there was no heart in it. She looked more tense than usual. Why? Again turned faster if we called in rain at the others. What's that? Are you saying this on man alone is insufficient? You're not even helping me at this point. I silently criticised her, but in the end, having someone else around does make work easier than doing it alone. Although the load is rather heavy. Well, I considered that at first, and I did ask her. But then she said, I don't want to get in Mion's way. How? What's that supposed to mean? I don't understand. Seriously? Mion turned and stared straight at me. Regardless of what she says, how can I understand something I don't understand? God. That's what I thought you'd say, you fucking bitchy. It is astonishing that Keiichi is this dense, but like when it comes to emotions, he always is, and also he is absolutely like, I feel like he's wrapped around Rika and Reina's fingers, and Mion is able, and Shion for that matter, Shion more so I think than Mion, able to just like walk all over him. Satoko is probably the only person that he has anything of like an equal relationship with in that sense, and to be honest it's probably because of that like sort of brotherly relationship between them, that they're sort of like sibling looking after each other. But I don't know, I don't know. I never had that with my younger brother. We did not get along until probably until I graduated, so he would have been 17? No, that's... can't count. He would have been 15. So it really wasn't until my brother was in his mid-teens that we started getting along, so... It's 6 years younger than me, so... Peachy. What? Think you can carry one more? I'll grab it for you. Hold on. Carrying 4 is impossible. Totally absurd. But Mion rushed to the school gate where the mountains of chalk bags were placed. Then she lifted one up, dashed toward me at a tremendous speed, and shouted, "Ha!" as she threw it at me with full momentum. Huh? Nice work, Keiichi. I was certainly trying to dodge it. Don't be absurd. I failed to catch a chalk bag thrown at that speed. It would burst as it hit the ground and cover my entire body in white powder. You're trying to make this like one of those competition shows on TV. Now your punishment is complete, Keiichi. Hurry up and carry it over there, okay? Saying that, Mion turned her back and walked towards the store, leaving me about to climb holding these bags. I felt like I was making massive thuds with every step I took, but I was sure that's just my imagination. Stand. She seemed to be in a good mood just a little while ago, so why am I being punished? My whole body was stretched and sweat as Mion and I brought over the last of the chalk bag. In the end, I only ended up doing the first round by anyway. After that, Mion and I carried 1 bag each trip. Incidentally, I was carrying 3 bags each, so of course I was completely exhausted. Sleep well tonight. Oh. I carefully placed 3 bags of chalk in front of the storehouse and immediately collapsed to the ground. The sweat that had been oozing out of my entire body suddenly began flowing like a waterfall. So tired. Thanks for the help, Mion. Oh, it's still too early for that. You can only say that after we finish putting these inside. Mion pulled the rattling handle on the heavy door as she said that, then stepped inside while carrying one of the bags. When I saw that, I rose to my feet and brushed the dirt off my shorts, then picked up one of the chalk bags. The room had been sealed until just now, so filled with hot, humid air. A musty smell pierced right through my nose. When I took inside, I saw Mion looking for a place to stack the bags. Mion, watch out! Huh? Whoa! I called out to her. But it was no time. Mion tripped and fell on a hurdle lying on the ground. She dropped the chalk bag she was carrying, and white powder burst out as it hit the ground and danced in the air. Mion, are you alright? I see her coughing beyond the white smoke that partially obscured my vision. I rushed into the storehouse and reached my hand up, searching for a light switch. Keiichi, no! Don't turn on the lights! As soon as I turned towards Mion, a round object hit me directly in the face. I cried out in a weird voice and fell with my chalk bag still in my hand. Fortunately, the powder bags broke my fall. What's that for, Mion? Sorry, you hurt? Mion rushed over, his clothing still covered in chalk. I could tell from the apologetic look on her face that she hit me with a volleyball? Is that normal? She just wanted to change genres. Keiichi, you can't turn on the lights when in an enclosed safe place full of powder. It could have caused a dust explosion as strong as gunpowder. Dust explosions are terrifying. Just in general. Especially because, like, if it's a dust explosion, something just disconnected. I think it may have been my, God only knows. If it's a dust explosion from, like, something that's flammable, really scary. And if if I'd actually turned on the light just now. The moment you turn them on, sparks would fly and cause an ignition. The roof of the storehouse would be blown away, and we'd be right here watching the fireworks. I'll be serious. If you could direct hit from that, we wouldn't stand a chance. There you go. That's why I had to stop you. But I probably went overboard throwing the ball at you. Sorry about that. Although, depending on how you think about it, you might say Mia saved my life. Instead of her apologising to me, I should be the one thanking her. Pardon me. Mia, you really know a lot. I don't you learn that at school? Yeah, I learned that a long time ago. I learned a lot from military instructors during the down resistance movement. The proper procedures for handling dangerous goods and all kinds of situational knowledge. I can't remember if it's from this game or from an IRL, but I do remember there being a sort of thing where there was this potential that it was IRL, probably when I'm in a cult thing. That's one of my favourite subjects. A cult had like literally gone to America for military training. Proper procedures for handling dangerous goods and all kinds of situational knowledge. Military? Even though I say military, it's a bit of an exaggeration to describe it that way. It was mostly the kind of stuff that firefighters know and how to give first aid. A countermeasure to help the injured in the event of gunfire or an explosion. Mian laughed after saying that. Indeed, in unusual circumstances, like natural disasters or armed conflicts, military knowledge provides more than just the means to defeat your enemies. It's also effective at protecting your allies. Moreover, I'm certain these were necessary skills that Mian and the others learned to face off against a large-scale organisation in the down opposition movement. But the word military still feels really heavy for someone like me, who hasn't been involved in anything like that. In that sense, I couldn't help but see the level of difference between me and Mian, considering she'd lived through the earlier conflicts and he knows that way. What's wrong, Keiichi? Huh? Oh, it's nothing. I was just feeling impressed. And that's just a taste of this old man's capabilities. As a matter of fact, I'm the one who taught Toko how to make tracks like this Dust Explosion. Studying school is all well and good, but practical experiences for more than just show. Not embarrassed to say that. She turned red. Anyway, I'm covered in chalk all the way up to my hair. Mind if I wash up a bit? Sure. Actually, why don't you just head back now? I can take care of the rest. Really? In that case, I'll bring you something to drink after. Oh, I'd love to have something nice and cold. Butter? One well-chilled mayonnaise. Not some mayo lover. Mian laughed while rushing to the school bus. As I watched her head out, I suddenly recalled a story I heard about her earlier. Yamazawa and their son Zaka-san. I thought back on what I heard at the banquet yesterday evening. It's customary for children born into the Samazaki family to have the kanji for demon in their name. Like the current family head, Origo. I cannot remember. Oh no, I can remember one hiragana, which is for N. Guessing that. Don't know. Even though she lost a position, that also applied to Mizukane. Her name used to be written like that. Then, who's the character? Must be that. Okay, my mouse is on. I'm guessing it's this bit. Like, whoops. I don't know Japanese anymore. It's been... Jesus Christ alive. It's been 10 years since I did my GCSEs. Oh my god, it's literally been a decade since I last studied Japanese. I'm having a crisis. God, you know what my Japanese GCSE? Oh, it was like 10 years ago last Monday. And I know that because when I was doing my GCSEs, I believe it was my GCSEs, it may have been not, but I'm pretty certain it was. We had exams in June, we had a really long summer that time around, so the exams were all in like June, maybe early July, and I took not one, not two, but 3 languages. Not one, not two, but not three, but 4 languages, I forgot one, at GCSE, in secondary school when I was 15, 16. Well, 14 to 15, 15 to 16. I took 4 languages: Ancient Greek, Latin, French, and Japanese. And on the day of my birthday, I guess they decided to do all of the languages at once. So I had Greek, Japanese, and either French or Latin, I can't remember. Either way, 3 languages in 5 different alphabets. Wait, Latin, Greek... Yes, yeah, 5 different alphabets. And that's been 10 years ago and change. Then there's Mion. Anyway, back to it. That's really a testament to the fact that the 3 families symbolise Hinamizawa, or Onagafuchi as it used to be called, and it demonstrates the weight of that responsibility. Mion doesn't talk about it, but I've heard that she received strict education as the future family head from her grandmother, Mizurio. And Mion had been fighting on behalf of the villagers as an influential leader during the Danma opposition. Suddenly I began to think, what was my life like at the time Mion was fighting alongside adults on behalf of the village? That was 5 years before I came to this village. I was stupid and selfish, never thinking about the people around me. I'm ashamed to even remember what a terrible child I was. I want to look up something super quickly. How old is Higurashi? Well, When They Cry.fandom.com says he's 14, so that means he would have been 9, which is absolutely insane in the brain. Meanwhile, Mion was enduring a painful battle. The difference between us was like heaven and earth. Simply no way I can catch it. But that's why I'll do my best. I want to do something. That way I'm sure. After a brief sigh, I lifted one of the chalk bags beside me. For starters, let's get this straight. Before I realised it, my heavy limbs began to feel lighter. Before long, the class came to an end. Club activities were cancelled today due to Mion's part-time job. Sadly, they're down in person at Uncle Yoshiro's place, so I have to hurry over and help out. Yoshiro, she means Angel Mom? Come to think of it, she is no longer trying to hide a part-time job as a waitress. She was embarrassed about it at first. She said you can never tell Reina and the others. If the secret gets out, I'll feed you a full course of 48 murder skills, okay? Incidentally, Shion's existence became a well-known fact among the club members the very next day. Turns out I let the secret slip through a misunderstanding, and as thanks for that, I ended up suffering 26 of those 48 skills. Let's forget about that. Anyway, Reina said she was going treasure hunting and headed home. Well, I guess it's okay for her to head home on her own for a bit. When I turned back towards the voice calling out to me, I found Rika. You... I understand, it's really naughty. You heading home now? Yeah. In that case, let's go together. Together? Isn't Rika's house in the opposite direction from mine? I have something to talk about, so shall we go together? Oh, that's right. Rika made a mysterious request the night before last, and I promised to ride her. I certainly haven't forgotten, but Rika's been completely normal since then, so I never asked her about it. Got it. Where should we go? Might be a little far out of the way, but would you mind heading to the Frude Shrine? Then we ascended the stone steps and arrived at the Frude Shrine ground. The shrine itself was in direct sunlight, so Rika found a cool place in the shade and took a seat on the stone. I sat down beside her on a flat stone, pulled out the cider and grape juice bottles we bought at a candy shop along the way, and popped them open with a corkscrew from the assembly hall. I handed Rika the grape juice, cider for myself. I'm assuming this is American apple cider juice, which is basically just apple juice and not actual cider, which is fermented. Given that he's 14, I don't think. Next Google. What's the drinking? 20. Okay, no. So we've got you just to go, yeah. What's wrong, Rika? It's nothing. Peachy, you mind if I have that cider? Sure. Here. As I said that, I swapped my cider for her grape juice. The sweet, mellow scent I hadn't tasted in such long, soothing on my sweaty body in the heat of the sun. The cry of the cicadas came pouring down, tall trees lined up around. It was a relaxing countryside scene, just like something you'd see in a picture. However, Rika was playing with the gravel by her feet, wearing a tense expression away here. When I saw that, my mood quickly tightened. So Rika, what did you want to talk about? Peachy, what is the worst possible future? Rika looked up at me, she asked, "Worst possible?" I immediately caught my breath and felt bewildered by the sudden question. Rika did ask me earlier about the things I hold dear, and now she was asking me about the possible future, the opposite end of the spectrum. I paused for a moment to think about what the worst thing for me was. Then I answered. I answered you earlier about the things I hold dear, didn't I? So if I were to lose those things, I think that would be the worst case. That's right. Mion, Reina, Toko, Rion, Rika. My precious friends suddenly disappeared. I'd probably go back to the empty, meaningless life I used to have in Tokyo. Just imagining it filled me with. You like Satoko? Uh-huh. Another unusual question, but Rika maintained a serious expression, it was clear that she wanted me to answer immediately, sincerely. Yeah, I love her. So I answered her directly without trying to hide anything or feel self-conscious. She's a little brash, she loves mischief, but even though she tries really hard to act like an adult, she's quite a spoiled child. I don't know how many awful traps to witness. Look back on her brats and pertinent laugh. However, Satoko is actually a kind and caring girl, and I think it's amazing that she has the strength to live her life without showing any doubt, despite suffering the tragedy of losing her parents, I think. She's fun to hang out with, slowly when she's not. We haven't known each other very long, but I consider her friendship an essential part of my current life. Then if that same Satoko is going to be badly hurt in any way, what would you do? Isn't it obvious? Find the person responsible and drive them away? I answered reflexively, without waiting to think. I wondered if I'd spoken too crudely, but Rika didn't look the least bit surprised. She responded with her usual neat back smile. Glad to hear that the Keiichi of this world thinks so. So please, lend me your strength, Satoko. Of course, but is something going to happen to her? Have you heard anything about Satoko's uncle? Slightly tilted my head. I haven't actually heard anything about Satoko's uncle, aside from the fact that her parents are gone. Satoko's uncle is a man named Tepe. Tepe currently lives with a woman named Lina in Kenya. We could continue her explanation in dispassion. But the slight frown on her face suggests that she didn't like this Tepe guy. Nobody does. Based on the family register, Tepe currently has the right to be Satoko's guardian. However, Satoko was treated badly when they lived together until last year. Badly? When I asked that, Italy continued her explanation. The content of the story put me at a loss for words, but trembling. Satoko and her brother Satoshi were taken in by her uncle after the death of their parents. Of course, Satoko's house was full of belongings, so it was easier to move in there rather than to elsewhere. Back then, her aunt and uncle had a well-known problem that would. The two of them would apparently vent their own frustrations, terribly abusing Satoko and her brother. Her brother Satoshi endured the worst of the treatment while covering for he was still too young to endure. The last year on the night of Otanagashi, The situation deteriorated to the point that Baran was murdered, and Satoshi was suspected of disappearing from the village himself like he was driven out. Cheerful girl Turko had a voice like that. Tightly clenched my teeth. Anger, hatred, murderous intent, other dark emotions being released from within my heart. Satoko was her, to the point my life wasn't worth living, and the man responsible abandoned Satoko to go live a selfish, blissful life. Keiichi. Then Rika gently placed her hand on my tightly clenched fist. It was soft and warm. When I turned to look, Rika silently shook her head. How'd you willing to get that angry and Satoko's car? Honestly, I'm delighted. But Keiichi, what I'm asking of you now is neither revenge nor violence. That would make it harder and harder for Satoko to reach greatest happiness. Greatest happiness? Even if Satoko can never be happy without you. So we have to find out Satoko can be happy while you're still here. I listened to what she had to say. Something anomalous stabbed at the inside of my chest. Not without me. Then, as I hastily considered denying Tepe's existence, a pleasant ending jumped into me. That made me jump. My boiling hot emotions gradually cooled down, though it was only a hypothetical world. No, it didn't. I clearly felt it would never be right. What? Tepe currently lives in Okamiya, but he'll probably return to Hinamizawa soon. That's because the woman who lives with him and pays his bill, Rina Mamiya, is going to be murdered. Murdered? I jumped as soon as I heard her say that word. Oh, how much you prophesy. I can't stay calm when I hear someone say murder. Plus, why is this Rina person? Rina currently works at a Samazaki affiliated bar, and a few days from now, she's planning to steal the treasury funds. It's a gang facility. In the end, the plan will fail, and Rina will fail to escape. The gangsters there will make an example of her, by killing her. But the callous tone that Rika said this all sent a chill down my back. Even I can tell how dangerous it is to steal money from organised crime groups. What sort of retribution they'd receive if their plan failed? Just imagining it terrifying. Still, does this mean that Rina person is so desperate for money she'd resort to that? But if Tepe comes back to Hinamizawa, how does that affect Satoko? Tepe comes back, natural he'll stay in the hotel house. Since Tepe can't do any housework on his own, he'll search for Satoko back at home. Or rather, he'll take her away. Huh? Actually, this issue has been a rare occurrence in the world thus far. So whenever it did happen, considered it a case of bad luck. Yesterday, I saw Rina and Mamiya in the library, and I heard a nasty story there. It was a total coincidence. Satoko invited me to find a book to read over the summer break, and we went to the library together. I noticed her face over in the reading area. The overbearing scent of perfume drifted over. A flashing, revealing outfit made it clear that was her job. I only saw her face once in a world long ago, but I'll never forget it, because Satoko and Rina both suffered thanks to Rina and me. Rina was together with several young men, and they were all sitting around a circular table to hide their faces, discreetly talking to one. There were many thick books piled on the table, but I could tell immediately they were nothing but camouflage. It was clearly a peculiar sight. So, thinking back on the Japanese, I can remember. I can read two characters, that's N and that's No. The N I can remember because it is one of the characters that I always found easiest to write. I think my handwriting's bad in English, see it. In Greek, but especially in Japanese. I think it's one of the reasons that I really struggled with kanji, is that I can read that way. Well, a lot of kanji for me is memorization, really good at, but it's also that, like, it's just not how my brain works. Anyway, the reason I can remember No is because the few characters that I can remember it's carved into my brain is No. I have to do another No. More and that's stuck in my brain forever. There are very few people in the hall in the evening, and nobody else can see into the reading area. Normally, Rina and her crew would make a lot of noise with no regard for bothering anyone else. Did she have to gather in a dim and sober place before that? Mika, did you find Ron Melos yet? Not yet. I'm going to search over here. I hid behind the bookshelf of the book while approaching Rena's location to listen. Rena of this world shouldn't know my face, so I considered boldly heading over to the reading area to check out the children. But I decided to be careful. I could faintly hear their voices, occasional laughter mixed. And as I approached the closest vantage point, I could hear them clearly. What about us? Word gets around about swiping those treasury funds, we'll end up like this. The man tapped his neck with his palm as he said that. It seemed like he was trying to make a joke. The pale look on his face didn't seem like he was laughing. In fact, I've heard a lot of rumours. There are practically no successful examples of what you're talking about, you know? In that case, you're welcome to leave, alright? But given the debt you've accumulated, your usual payments won't even cover the interest. Yes, but you too, and you too. But you know, you've got eyes on you from above. You'll have to deal with it, unless you want to end up losing your necks like your colleagues. Shut up. Doesn't the same go for you too? Me? Sorry, but I've got insurance. Even if I can't wear this mountain out, I won't have any troubles in life, see? Is that middle-aged deadbeat really worth it? Middle-aged? You mean Tetsu? Not at all. For a beautiful woman like me, he's just holding me back from other excellent prospects. Hey, keep your voice down. One of the men scanned their surroundings after saying that. His eyes seemed to focus on me, but I guess he thought I was just a kid and didn't care. It's fine. All that's left is some brat. Even if she heard, she wouldn't understand anything. What are you so nervous about? This is the one place with absolutely no connection to the Samazakis. I went to a lot of trouble to choose it. Stupid as always. True, this library is one of the few places not patronised by the Samazakis. I can't believe they don't recognise how much they stand out. In all likelihood, the higher-ups among the Samazakis will learn about this private conversation in just a few days. These people in Reina don't comprehend the terror of the Samazaki family. See, so this is the reason we know. I wanted to say as much to the pathetic women standing right before my eyes. They were like insects, dancing innocently on an iron plate that would soon be drenched in scorching heat. Anyway, Plum, Yasuko, you two handle the legwork. She will have all the keys on this keychain copied by 7 tomorrow. You need to put them back on the shipkeeper's desk. Don't screw it up. Right, leave it to us. Like a loyal bulldog. This goes well, all of us are going to be rich. Fetched it to this shabby country town and head overseas. Subservient laughter was plain to hear, like they were no longer trying to hold back their voices. Then I went back to Satoko, pretending to be oblivious. Disgusting bastards. I answered completely frankly. Whether Rika felt the same way or not, she said with a slightly distorted smile on her face. Even though in fact we can't allow her to be killed. We can't let this Tepe bastard take Satoko away. I started thinking ahead about the possibility of convincing Rina to give up on the hide. Or if she's unwilling, force her to abandon it while I'm living. That's no good. Even if she's still alive, she'll end up leaving Uncle and me. Which means... yeah, it's fine like this. Huh? Rina and Mia will go through the plan as long as we remain silent. Then we'll let her die. The cold and simple. Rika drank a slightly strained gulp of cider after saying that. Let her... Her words were so cruel and brutal they didn't sound like me. I was surprised how easily I could say that with such an emotionless expression. Then... yep. We'll come back to Hinazawa, right? I said so earlier. Satoko will be taken away by her uncle. Yes, I did say that. Satoko will be taken away by Tepe. Probably, almost certainly. It's the case. Couldn't it be there for us to do something to ensure Tepe went to Hinamizawa, just because of Rina's disappearance? Or is there some secret plan we can use to keep Satoko from being taken away? There's no secret. Besides, he is listed on Satoko's family register, so if he demands it, Satoko will have to be surrendered to him. You can't be serious, then. Ichi, please listen carefully. Not a rejection. Rika cut me off with a strong tone and spoke to me with this expression. Think about what I asked you earlier. I told you that you would make it harder and harder for Satoko to reach greatest happiness. Don't you remember? Still, isn't that just guaranteeing Satoko will end up with her uncle? I'm almost certain she'll be unhappy if things keep going like this. It's also necessary. Satoko's. And I'll be living with her abusive uncle with Satoko. Then we... Satoko and her uncle lived together helped learn to love. Complete opposite. He's going to yell at and abuse her just as much as last year, if not more. Mika, that's not something to joke about. Despite that, you'd still hand her over? Yes, this is necessary for both you and Satoko. Then she went on to explain. After Satoko was taken away by her uncles, the club members and I all united together to help her by appealing to the CCC. Still, the CCC wouldn't take any action, and Satoko's situation was deteriorating day by day. Unable to bear it, I, Keiichi Maibara, enlisted the aid of the entire village to shine a light on Teppei's mistreatment of. In the end, with the help of the police and even the Sonozaki family, who had always seen the Hojos as enemies, Teppei was arrested and Satoko was saved. After Satoko was taken away, you and the others accomplished a miracle. And then, thanks to the trust you earned from the whole village, Satoko was finally accepted by the villagers. The result is a happy ending. It's all just a hypothetical story, but Rika described it so realistically and persuasively that like I could actually see it. It's further evidence of that. She maintained a stoic expression the entire time, never smiling. Though she seemed to be trying to stay expressionless, her small fists tightly clenched her knees, sweaty and stain-dried. What should I do? Even if something terrible will happen to Satoko, I want you to be patient and endure it. Then you can leave the club members who've been avoiding the issue to forget the town council, and the Sonozaki family, and hope will win their cooperation. Then finally Satoko can be saved. In other words, right now, you need to abandon her. For the first time, her dark eyes were illuminated by the flames of rage. When I saw her reaction, I resolved my convictions and answered her. Okay, I have to check this off my food. So what happens if I... Yeah. Bad end one. Do I want to do that? No, I don't is the answer. And apologies, I got distracted looking at the thing. You must think me a cold woman. Honestly, I'm reluctant to do this. Ah, fuck. Last tits and piss. Leave there. Save here, I guess. But I've been thinking over since I saw Rina in the library. In the end, this is the conclusion I came to. Satoko will be taken by her uncle Teppei. She'll be mentally cornered. I'd always thought that was the worst case scenario. Whenever this happened, Keiichi, or maybe Shion or Reina, would almost certainly resort to violence to eliminate Teppei. As a result, the guilt over the murder causes them to distrust everything, or ultimately destroying themselves. And since I'm unable to talk to them, they'll ultimately end up killed by Takano's hand. I thought that chain of events could never be broken. So any time the world went in that direction, I simply called it bad luck and gave up. Yet, Keiichi spectacularly overcame that detestable scenario. His own beliefs in it. He saved Satoko and even beautifully ended the mystery villagers used to give her. Then I realized, the scenario I always considered the worst case possible actually brought me closer to the goal than any before it. In order to reach that, we have to abandon Satoko. Right now, you're asking me to abandon Satoko. When Keiichi said that, I couldn't hide my anger. Not against Keiichi, but against myself, for settling on such a helpless, pitiful and ruthless life. Would Satoko be angry if she hold a grudge? She hate me? You look at the big picture. You think that's a selfish thing to say. So I don't want you to accept this decision as correct. But this is the only choice we have. I can't think of any other way. So Keiichi, I don't want you getting overly emotional at it. Otherwise, Shion and Reina will resort to violence in order to help her. No matter what it takes, I want you to use your power. So... No way. Neep? However, Keiichi retorted with enough voice in his voice to knock me over. I understand what you're trying to say, Rika. But in the end, isn't that just settling? I don't want to do that. That's not how I do things. So even if your predictions are the truth... Sorry, but I can't. I've heard about how the villagers look at Stoke. They say her parents supported the downpour. But I think it's strange that you believe there's no other way to save her. There may be another good way. Plus, I don't want that to be the way she wins the trust of the villagers. Like this enemy, unless we can't beat this enemy, then everyone will be unhappy. Yet you still insist. Can I tell you? I don't believe in fate. Still don't know who this enemy is, but I'll never forgive them for trying to destroy our happiness. If that's the case, I'll just have to persuade the entire village and show you. I lowered my eyes while letting out a disappointed sigh. I thought he was an idiot, but not to this extent. Maybe it would have been better if I hadn't told. No, I'm glad you told. Rika, you really want to save Satoko from her uncle, don't you? And how do we do that? It's decided then. We'll find a way to stop Rima's heist, prevent Tepe from taking Satoko away. I'm slightly disappointed by that expected outcome. I've been constantly considering that before coming here. I don't want to abandon Satoko. I didn't even want to think about seeing those empty lies again. I feel like I'm being torn apart. But I really can't find another way. Rina and Mia's plan will either succeed, fail, or be abandoned. But how on earth could we make her do that? In order to prevent the heist and keep Rina from leaving Okonomiya or being killed, we have to convince Rina herself to abandon the plan. In which case, we can't consult with the police or anyone related to the Yamazaki group. So how are you going to prevent it? In response to my inquiry, Keiichi laughed and folded his arms, then grinned. Detestable. Yes, as usual. I'll keep thinking about an answer. I'll smack him with this bottle. Have you forgotten, Rika? It's for Satoko. There's only one club member who will unquestionably offer to help. Me? Ah. When I realised who he was referring to, I lightly sighed. I've already made my assumptions about how that scenario would play out. Indeed, there is a person with connections to the Sonozaki group, a desire to help Satoko under any circumstance. Shion Sonozaki. However, talking about Shion, but gangsters care about honour above all else. They found out some of your group members targeting their safe, they wouldn't let them live. So in the end, their only choice is to have Rina killed. Well, normally I'd say so. But what if Rina's plan never begins at all? I don't understand what you mean. No idea what he was talking about. Gee, what on earth are you thinking? But, well, leave it to me, Rika. I have a good idea. Keiichi let out a fearless laugh after saying that. When I looked at his face, the guilt I felt about abandoning Satoko and the disgust I felt over my own helplessness seemed so foolish, so strange. Oh, Rika? Against my better judgment, I nodded to him. I guess it's fine. This boy proclaimed that fate was as flimsy as the thin sheet of paper. What kind of miracle did he have in store? That I wanted to see. Relatively, they're not entirely certain that this could end well. Or at least, not a bad end. On the relatively. Okay. Sale. Yeah. Out of chapter 9. Waiting Shion. Let's do it. Rika and I arrived at the location we discussed with Shion over the phone. Around the corner, it's the beauty. Keiichi, it's right there. I looked at the shop where Rika was pointing. Sure enough, that was the coffee shop Shion told us. The glass door was pitch black, so I couldn't tell what it was like inside. I've been to coffee shops with my parents on rare occasions, but something about the atmosphere of this place seemed to pick up to drive people away. At least, judging by first impression, it didn't seem the sort of place children would be at. Anyway, leave it to Shion to pick such a weird meeting place. Okonomiya is a decent size. I'm sure it has plenty of cute coffee shops that Shion would like. With that in mind, I took another look around, just in case there was some misunderstanding. I didn't see any other coffee shop. I told her we needed to keep the secret from Neon and the others, so maybe she's just being cautious. Well, whatever. There were signs taped to the dark window saying that female customers get discounts on tea on certain days of the week. Even with that, such an odd-looking, dirty little store that I can't imagine they get many female customers at all. As I pondered that, I noticed that Rika was suddenly no longer standing by my side. Rika? I looked up the store and saw her opening the door, walking in without any hesitation. So I quickly followed behind her and opened the dark glass door. The bed attached to the door let out a stilled sound to announce new visitors. I was hit by a nasty odour the moment I stepped inside. The interior was worse than I'd imagined. The cigarette smoke made the air somewhat cloudy and muggy. It was less a coffee shop and more like a pachinko or mahjong bar. Nevertheless, in contrast to my clear hesitation, Nipa walked right up to the host behind the counter and looked up with her usual smile. The surly-looking host didn't seem surprised or confused and gestured us towards a table in the corner. I looked around the seating area within the store. No matter how I looked at it, this didn't seem like a mere bar you visited to enjoy a smooth coffee. I couldn't see any of the other customers, but there were plenty of used cups and glasses along the counter by the seats. At any rate, the host put 2 glasses of water that didn't even contain ice on the table, then went back to the counter without waiting to hear the rest of our order, and turned on the TV. Gosh, sure did invite us to a awful place. I blurted out my voice just quite enough, but the host couldn't hear. There were ring stains on the table and it was apparently covered in dust. It didn't even seem like it was wiped down at all, so I was hesitant to even rest my elbows on it. Did she? Wink took a sip of water and glanced over at the host, then leaned forward and closer to me. The smile on her face immediately vanished and she stared at me with a serious expression as she spoke. Is it really okay for me to give everything to you, Keiichi? Of course. Plus, I've been practicing. Rika, it gets dangerous, so I want you to just follow. I think it's better if you tell me beforehand. I don't think it makes any sense to keep secrets. Rika furrowed her eyebrows as she said that. She was in a bad mood. I haven't yet told Rika about the secret plan she offered help in stopping Luna's scheme before it even begins. I still wasn't quite certain of it, but that wasn't the only reason. To be perfectly honest, Rika, I still don't believe in the fate you told me about. So I'll show you. Prove to you that fate is easier to change than you seem to think. Did you still doubt the things I say? No, that's not it. I do believe you. It's precisely why I want to prove that it can be changed. Even if you're not willing to endure it, there's still plenty of options available to us. He whispered in response, seeming to be convinced for the time being. Plus, this is about Stoker. I'm sure Shion will take it seriously. So it's probably for the best to get that across to her. Shion was usually teasing, making fun of her, but she really does care about Stoker. That's why Stoker is genuinely interested in Shion, even though she acts irritated on the surface. Because of that relationship between them, I thought it would be best to speak frankly with Shion. But Rika didn't seem to agree with her. She was hanging her head like she was troubled. I know this, but Shion is the type of person that, when she decides upon a goal, she won't hesitate to use any means to reach it. If Shion like that learned that Stoker was suffering, would suffer in the future, what do you think she'd do? I'm certain she'd opt to handle it in the most direct way possible. The most reliable, most efficient way of reaching that goal. Only choice. Sure is. Terrible thought flashed. Mine frozen. Like an awful nightmare. Maybe I experienced that in another world. As if to confirm that, he looked up at me and even without Rina, even without Tepe, the conclusion we arrived at was just as you were imagining now, Kate. It means to avoid one misfortune, the misfortune. Felt like that. He did exist. Rika had a meek expression. The look on her face like she was remembering something so painful that she was looking at her. Do you want to be silent? You can't tell she, but I'm worried it'll ignite the wrong sort of color. No matter what happens, absolutely nothing more than that. It's also important that our conversation today doesn't matter. Like usual, I didn't understand the intent behind Rika's words, but I braced myself and endured. Right. Whether I believe what Rika told me or not, if the Serena woman's plan comes to fruition, I'll probably disappear from Ocarina regardless of success or failure. And as a result, Tepe will return to the Hojo Hassel, taking Stoker back for his own livelihood. According to Rika, Stoker's life with the Rankamasti was so awful it couldn't even be put into words. Even now, I only half trusted her story. Still, even if there was only a 1% chance that Stoker would suffer this mistake, will I be able to prevent the misfortune from my own action? I don't even need to think about it. If Tepe Hojo is erased from this world, into an end. I shook my head to cast the idea that just came to me. It certainly feels like a good idea, and it seems like the quickest and most efficient first glance. Nevertheless, I thought it over. Is that really for the sake of Sateko's heart? I said I was doing it for her sake, but somewhere deep in my heart I heard myself screaming that it was just justifying my guilty conscience. That's right. Now, leave it to me. From here on, it's my game to win or lose. As I began to think that, I heard the clatter of the bell on the door. When I glanced at the entrance, it was someone else. A rugged-looking, perfect for a store like this. He was fully dressed in a black suit, black sunglasses to hide his eyes. His clothing and harsh look made him completely invisible to the general public. It was clearly an unusual form of intimidation. Even though I say he looks like a bad guy, he's not on the same level as delinquents or scary people. He clearly had the aura of the actor. When the hostess noticed that man, he rushed to turn off the TV. Then he rubbed his hands together while greeting him, an expression completely unlike what he showed to us. Greetings, welcome. Could he be a regular? Or was there some hierarchy to their relationship? The man in the suit calmly looked over the store, then looked at the menu board hanging on the wall. First, yes, what can I do for you? Sweat ran down his forehead. He did his best to plaster a tense smile on. He's the host of the store. You should be used to the sort of people who lead an honor. You should be somebody special to make the host nervous. You have, sweets. Are you offering any today? Oh, of course we have some. I'll prepare something right away. Host, who was clearly nervous about inadvertently saying something, looked relieved as he rushed over to the other side of the counter. The guy just said sweets, right? All right, I haven't eaten that sweet strawberry compote parfait in a long time. All of a sudden, I heard a bright voice that felt completely out of place for an atmosphere of this store. That voice? Is she on? Ah, Keiichi, Rika. Sorry to keep you waiting. Shion emerged from behind the man in the black suit, shouting in lavish form. With Shion's appearance, the atmosphere in the cafe seemed to brighten up in an instant. Shion and the man in the seat walked straight towards our table. Hello, we only got here a moment ago. Shion sat down at the table and the man in black took a seat beside her. Such an incredible presence. He was emanating a heavy, intimidating aura. Shion. Yes? That guy. Do I say this? Huh? I carefully scanned my brain, searching for what else to say. How do I describe the scary looking? But before I could say anything, Jin put on a beefed smile and waved a hand and spoke up. You mean Kasai? Well, you can think of him as my bodyguard. Bodyguard? There must be something of a big deal to travel with a bodyguard. I was once again reminded of the power of the Sonozaki family, even in Okumiya. The man she called Kasai adjusted his posture, and turned to me and lightly bowed his head without even listening to what? Didn't even drop his guard. My name is Kasai. Seems you're always taking care of sheep. I'm the one taking care of them. Isn't that right, Keiichi? Nice to meet you. I'm Keiichi. I laughed ambiguously. I was still hesitant to look directly at him while introducing myself, which is to be expected since he's twice as strong as me. Something wrong, Keiichi? Really? Don't be so nervous. He may look scary, but he's a nice guy. Thanks. I was planning to come here alone today, but I ran into this weird guy in the library. What a coincidence. He was chasing after me, trying to bring me my wallet. How am I supposed to react besides laughing? See? Don't you think he's a good guy? What about you, Mika? Men in suits are great. Also, what we came here to discuss involves the Sonozaki, so this is perfect. I love Rika's just... Men in suits are great. So, I love that it's so incongruous coming from this like 100+-year-old woman in like 9-year-old girl's body. It's great. It also makes me think of the way that she like kind of flirts with Arakawa. Like it was 4 years ago that our love affair began. I was like, no, don't say things like that. Oops, click back in the game. Even involves Sonozakis. That's right. Rika smiled while looking back and forth between Shion and Kasai. Shion, on the other hand, tilted her head and shrugged her shoulders. I did hear a little over the phone, but what do you want to talk about? Well, for now, let's enjoy some sweets. Jion curled the slowly host over and requested sweets for everyone. Silent. Eventually, all colourful parfaits that would have something from Angel Milk came, and Rika and Shion immediately began gleefully eating. Stuff that's all different, but look even more delicious. As I thought that, I used a long spoon to grab a scoop of ice cream. This was actually way above average. What a surprising new discovery. Thinking about it, Shion should be pretty finicky about sweets after working at Angel Milk. So if that's something she specifically requested, then pretty much guarantees it'll taste good, right? It's such a bad fit for this store. Maybe it's unfortunate. Kasai periodically glanced at me, obviously gracefully sipping his coffee without touching his parfait at all. How did he even ask for the coffee? How is it? Better than expected? Hostio may not look it, but he's actually pretty talented. It's delicious, isn't it? Come on, Kasai, at least try a bite. I'm grateful. Today I'm just here to accompany you, Shion. I'll try it next time I come here with you. Oh, do tell. What kind of woman do you spend time with when you're not on the job? I'd love to see that. Even after Shion's job, I didn't detect even a smile out of him. They seemed to have a long relationship together. More than that, I was able to see the depth and strength in his smile. So, what did you want to discuss today? Shion finished her parfait in no time and then spoke up. The atmosphere of this place hardened in an instant. That's right. I came here to speak out, about that. I don't want to save. Someone named Rena. What's this all of a sudden? Her eyes opened a little wide and she tilted her head to the side. Seeing that, Rika sat down her spoon and continued from there. This is about a woman named Rina Mamiya, who works at a Sonozaki-affiliated bar. Sonozaki-affiliated bar? Rina? I don't know her. Kasai? Kasai thought it over for a moment. After seemingly getting lost on how to respond, then she answered. I believe I know who you're referring to. What's this about Rina Mamiya? He spoke in a clerical tone. I couldn't read his expression thanks to sunglasses, but judging by his voice, it seemed like he was feeling suspicious after hearing Rina say. Will the two of them be able to take the story seriously, or, more importantly, will they even believe a story based on a wild prediction or premonition? I suddenly started feeling anxious in front of this man called Kim. This is no time to... I have to believe. I took a short breath and spoke all at once. Sonozaki-affiliated bar makes treasury payments every month, right? What? Yeah. Rina is planning to steal those funds. Huh? Shion and Kasa looked at one another and thought. Perfectly natural reaction. There's no way they could have expected a story like this to come out of them. But wait a minute. Why are you and Rika the ones telling us about them? Well, stealing treasury funds is a brazen move, isn't it? Who even is this Rina woman? Shion's last question was directed at Kasa. He adjusted his glasses while offering her an answer. It's a well-known name at the bar, although I'm not sure it's her real name. She's an employee working at one of the Flower Road establishments. Employee? Ah. But this is making less and less sense. Why would Keiichi and the others know about one of our employees? Well, that's because... Shion's shrewd eyes darted back and forth between Rika and I. Meanwhile, Kasai was staring straight at me. He seemed to be verifying the authenticity and intent behind my words. You ever heard her? Sensing my difficulty in answering, Rika spoke up in a calm voice, still eating her slowly melting puff. You did, Rika? Where? The library. She was talking all excitedly with some weird people and making a lot of noise. The library? One of our employees. That doesn't suit them at all. They seem completely out of place, which is why they stood out to me. Would you care to go into more detail? So for the first time, Kasai leaned slightly forward and carefully listened to what Rika and I had to say. Upon seeing that, Shion looked a little more serious and bent over. See, certainly is a troubling story. Kasai quietly listened. But once the story was over, he simply said that with a nod, then zipped his lips. So what should we do? We need to prevent this Rina woman from the treasury fund. Rina works at a Samsaki-affiliated bar, so it should be simple enough to stop her with the power of the Samsakis. Is there any truth to it? It seemed like a good thing to say on, a member of that family. It's hard to say it's irrelevant. That's what you're saying, then why didn't you tell us? Don't you think you're going about this in the wrong order? No. Shion, you seem more familiar with this sort of thing. Huh? Familiar? Why do you say that? Shion, you do a lot of part-time work at Samsaki-affiliated stores, right? So it seemed like you'd be better informed about these treasury funds and the inner working of the stores. I answered completely reflexively, but I was still convinced the reasoning would be considered acceptable. It certainly is the effect I've had at the Samsaki family. Given the distance to Okamia, it seemed like Shion would be more familiar with this sort of thing. It's more, there's high possibility that threatening movements like this without any confirmation would never even reach me. Plus, you might have even worked at this place. This place, the one on Flower Road? Me? There's no way I'd work there. I nodded over and over. I was about to say it was just a joke, but then for some reason Rika joined in. You've never worked there? Gee, Rika, did you come here to start a fight? Mine working at a place like that is completely off limits. Unbelievable. Though she did once ask about it. The hourly wages are quite good. Oh! So she did consider working there. I thought so. So? She cleared her throat and settled down. Stared straight at me as she said that. Setting my part-time job aside. What's your objective here? How does this benefit you? Objective? Benefit? Preventing Rina from taking this money must benefit you in some way, right, Keiichi? What could it be? I'd love to hear it. Well, why do you even know the story in the first place? Do you guys have any connection to this Rina woman? What's the point of stopping her plan? Sorry, but I can't accept what you're saying unless you make it clear why this is a big deal. I got stuck thinking to respond to that. Gina's quick-witted, so of course she wouldn't believe right away. I myself only half believe it, so there's not much that can be done about it. Get any of these questions wrong, get the bad ending. I'll do this again and I'll click all wrong answers to get that. I turned the argument around and asked Kasai about it. You noticed anything strange about this Rina woman these days? Something strange? For example, maybe she's been avoiding work despite having financial troubles? Or maybe she's been starting to associate with unfamiliar people? Kasai stopped to think deeply for a while, organising his thoughts. Then he slowly turns towards Shion and waited for her to nod, opening his. It's as you say. Something on your mind? Yes. Just as I thought. Feeling reassured by his answer, I leaned forward to hear more. Rina's been having lenting troubles with her colleagues, and yet she's coming to work less and less. It seems she's accumulated considerable debt, not just among her colleagues, but everywhere, so there are very few people pleased to hear her name. But if that's all it is, well, even with her lack of money, she's been strangely popular with some of the younger club members. And despite her debt, is that what you're saying? There's one more thing. It's not just the conversation at the library. I actually overheard something too. I thought it was out of the blue, but after hearing this, I understand. Kasai nodded as if he's quickly reached a conclusion. When Shion saw that, she spoke up. Hold on, Kasai. You really mean to accept what Rika and Keiichi are telling us? It's possible there's something there, and it'd be dishonourable for us if treasury funds could be so easily it doesn't. Excuse me, Kasai. I couldn't help but interrupt as soon as I heard them. If it were possible, I don't want you to do anything to me. Nothing? What do you mean by that? Kasai's eyes suddenly lit up. I felt intimidated and caught my breath, but I absolutely had to say this. Kill her. That's what I mean. Huh? Keiichi, no idea what you're talking about? Shion's dubious frown was on full display as she glared at me to vent her displeasure. That made sense. Not only am I an outsider interfering with the inner workings of the gang, but I'm asking them to spare the life of a stranger who isn't worth saving. I can't help but be. But before I could do anything, I gently adjusted his glasses, told us so. Fortunately, I must refuse. I can't abide Yakuza underlings to something so dishonourable. The rules of this world dictate that they pay the price for their actions. He responded as expected. After all, there are times to be firm. But even so, speaking directly to the concerned party does make this easy. because it allows me to accurately convey my intention. I understand that. Please, I don't want you to forgive them. I want this to have never happened at all. Never happened at all? It's simply impossible. First off. In other words, if Rena and the others give up on the heist before it even begins, the money is never actually taken, and they haven't done anything to dishonor themselves. Isn't that so? Perhaps. So? I apologize for interrupting, but that raises a natural question. Ichi, are you trying to help a wicked person? I'm really, really interested to see what happens when you click the bad answers, but good answers only. I became invested after talking with Rika. Rika spoke to me about it. She asked if there might be a peaceful way to resolve this. That's right. I thought it would be best not to spread the trouble. Rika quietly cut in to back up my story. However, Shion was stubbornly staring at us with a head tilt, still trying to gauge our true intention. To be perfectly honest, I can't understand why you're going so far. Stranger. Isn't the natural law of this world that the good are rewarded and the bad are punished? I have no tried for her to be this vicious sort. The Rena woman is connected to Satoko's awful uncle. She's deeply involved with them. Oh? What do you mean by that? Stammered for a moment, thinking about how best to explain. I didn't know much about it myself, so would she take it in a weird way if I didn't explain it well enough? Rena and Tepe are indeed a couple. Guess I chimed in to address Shion's confusion. I think you already know this, but Tepe Hojo is certainly a notorious thug, and he lives here in Okinawa. So, apparently Rena's been working with him to earn their living via a marriage fraud scheme. In short, the woman finds an easy market. The woman finds an easy mark to get romantically involved in. Then, once they get it good together, the man rolls up saying, "Get your hands off my woman," and starts demanding financial compensation. These fraud schemes with Rena and Tepe Hojo's only source of income. In other words, Tepe Hojo's livelihood depends on them. Shion nodded and made a face that seemed to show how she understood. What if Rena were to run away after taking the money? Rena were to take the treasury funds and leave Okinawa. Rather, even if she were to be eliminated as payback, Tepe's only source of income would disappear and immediately end up in the gutter. He can't even pay his rent, and he'll have a really hard time. If that's true, but if that were to happen, he'd have no choice but to return to his house in Higurashi, and then he would take Satoko back to live with him. The end result, well, you can imagine. Shion's complexion changed the moment she heard that. And Shion should both know better than me how Satoko was by her uncle. Satoko had finally regained her vitality after living together with her, so she could just start living with her uncle again, and end up back in the same situation as last year. It was easy to imagine how it would turn. Ichi, you're overthinking it. It sounds like something from a TV drama. There was brief silence. Jin left out a dry laugh like but I could see the deep bloodlust in it. The man who tormented Stone over and still had them. She overlooked him after Okinawa, never forgave him. And he's out there selfishly doing as he pleases. Of course it's something before. So if this Rena lady is with Pepe, then I understood perfectly well the dark emotions swelling around her. So I'll stop that. Huh? Resorting to that tragedy. Killing him would probably make some people happy. Nobody would be sad about it. But we don't need to get involved with the bastard. I don't want you dirtying your hands on a jacket. Especially for Satoko's sake and for you. Thing to say? Why would you even think I was considering that? Because I considered it too, just a little while ago. Shion's eyes opened wide, and she fell silent. No matter what sort of crime it is, and even if you say it's for someone else's sake, it's nothing but a crime. So we need to make Satoko happy by doing things the right way. Don't you think that's what would make her happy too? That too? It is nothing. Shion shook her head with a bitter smile on her. Then she took a drink of a completely melted ice water herself down. In that case, how do you plan to accomplish without resorting to that? Don't tell me you're going to persuade them. No, it's simple. I'm Cass. I have a favour to ask. Such as? Please replace all the locks on the Sonozaki Group's office. Today. Huh? Shion, Cass, and Rika beside me all stared at me stuck. At any rate, that reaction alone made it all worth it. Hold on. Even if you tell us that right now, wouldn't it take us a few days to arrange it with a contractor? So rather than placing the locks themselves, let's replace the doors. For example, swap them with a similar looking one next door. To replace the doors that way, wouldn't it become more of a do-it-yourself job? Yes, well, that would likely take just an hour or two. And as for a reason, you could, for example, say that the doors are poorly fitted, so you're trying to swap them to see if it makes it better. Of course, this needs to stay secret from Rina, okay? Indeed, but pardon me, Maybara. There's a good chance they stole the entire keychain. If only one key doesn't work, wouldn't they just try the others? As I don't know. Newly copied keys are harder to turn, right? That's certainly true. It'll go like this. If the key doesn't work, they'll immediately start to panic. And even if they try the other keys thinking it was just a mistake, the copied key is likely to get caught. And with the tension in the situation, the hands will be shaking and they'll start thinking it's the wrong key. After a bit of trial and error, they'll come to one conclusion. They'll think all the keys are somewhere completely different. Suddenly, past memories revived in the back of Fion's mind. Come to think of it, she tasted the exact same feeling when she escaped from Lucia last year. Mind went completely blank, struggled to. And her colleagues will start demanding they cut their loss. So in the end, they'll retreat for the day. For that, you can call a contractor to have the locks replaced. How does that sound? Well, the three of them all stared at me in silence. Could it be this serious flaw in my plan? Surprisingly enough. Silence was broken by laughter, coming from right beside me. Peachy, nice one. Just imagining the looks on their faces while they argue in front of the door is hilarious. Right, Kasai? Right. This is nothing to laugh about. Even Shion was holding her sides and roaring with laughter. It was hard to gauge Kasai from behind her sunglasses. It seemed puzzled. Never imagined they'd laugh at my idea. Kasai, let's do as you suggested. Huh? Wait. Shion wiped the tears from her eyes and be careful with that. But Kasai, on the other hand, had a sober expression like deep in thought. That made sense. As far as Kasai was concerned, simply planning this robbery was a dishonorable act. It can't be easy for him to accept simply overlooking it. No need to be so stiff. Don't you think it sounds fun? Yes, I'll take responsibility for it, alright? Even if you say you'll take responsibility, Shion, don't you? Understood. Shion says so, then so be it. Kasai led out a sign and voiced his agreement. That Shion is always pushing him. Still, I have to thank him for being willing to follow along with her. Peachy, your pranks really are the best. I really want to see this up close. Go, but don't try and carry it. If you do, the whole plan will fall apart. Shion responded with an understood, while raising one hand like she was reciting an oath. Kasai also looked different than before, as he picked up the banana from his melting parfait and took a bite. Thank you very much. I hope everything goes well. Rika deeply bowed to Shion and Kasai. I rushed to do the same. We picked at the rest of our path. Ice cream was almost completely melted, but the strawberries and banana were still plenty fresh. Stirred my long spoon to find the treasure hidden underneath the melted ice cream. Shion had already finished eating hers and didn't laugh. Rika was enjoying eating her own face, carefully spooning the melted ice cream into her mouth. Since then, no one said another word about me. We had a lively, innocent conversation. Topics like a new shop that opened up at the Akunomiya train station, or a new album being released by a favourite singer. Kasai sipped at his coffee while watching over. Eventually, Kasai covered the bill and we all left the restaurant. Shion, Kasai, thank you for today. I bowed to the two of them once more. In the end, I was very grateful that Kasai came. Something does happen. I have to talk about this again. Thank you, both of you. Rika bowed down as well and smiled. All for today. Oh, Keiichi. Just then, Shion stopped me, right as I was about to turn my... Keiichi, by the way, there's something I need to tell you about Tekken. I heard from the host on the way out. He said that Tepe and his partner Rena recently found a new about him. Target's last name. 3 again. I could even react. Gasped in astonishment. Could it be that Rena was targeting Rena's father with marriage for him? So that's happening here too? God, it really be so cruel. Clenched her face. Nightfall was fast approaching. And there, a third of the way through, on that nuclear bombshell, as Jeremy Clarkson would say, oh, never mind, back to gameplay. We've unlocked a tip that I... Yes. 2 tips. Huh? Does anyone know anything about the packages here? Oh, you mean that large piece of furniture? That's what you're looking for. Toshina loaded it on the truck earlier and it's already out for delivery. But wasn't it specifically scheduled for delivery tomorrow? If the customer receives it today, they'll be upset. Really? But it went out 2 hours ago. Believable. How could he make such a basic mistake? Isn't Toshina supposed to be a seasoned veteran? Yes, but it seems we received a call from the recipient requesting to do it today. So Toshima angrily obliged the customer's selfish request. Really? The department store manager told us over and over that we had to avoid delivering today. Nobody would be available, didn't they? I don't know the details. Customer's word is as good as God here. Wish we'd give these things better consideration. Absolutely. So what's the name of the recipient for the troublesome delivery? Oh, here it is. The last name is Ryugu. Address is... On that even more nuclear bombshell, I am going to end things off. I am going to say thank you very much for watching. It is very, very much appreciated. And I do hope that you enjoyed. I will be streaming Nier Replicant this Saturday, where we will be finishing the first part of the story, getting ending A, and possibly moving into the next round of the story. Then there will be no stream on Sunday because I'm going to be out with IRLs, drinking in a park, because I haven't gone drinking with other people in 18 months, probably not since February before last. Assuming my parents and family don't count. Tuesday we Final Fantasy 14, where we are going to be continuing the MSQ on Sharp and getting him caught up on stuff. And the next Thursday will be more Higurashi When They Cry, Miotsukushi Omote, where the next step, I guess, is to try and deal with the other terrible thing more terrible things that are happening. Everything that can go wrong is. Either way, folks, thank you very much for watching. That is very, very much appreciated, and I do hope that you enjoyed. Do have a wonderful evening and be excellent to each other, and I shall see you guys on Saturday.